Hello, boners. How's everyone doing tonight? I'm here with Ty. What's up, man?
Hey, I'm Mr. 2, and I'm here with Bone Shingle, checking out the
We're doing
Vampire the
World of
Masquerade.
Darkness vampire lore. You have to specify because World of Darkness is like all things in that world, like werewolves and fairies and mages and shit. So this is vampire specific.
I'm a noob learning about it.
Mm-hmm. Like yesterday, I had Dax here, and then Mags joined us later. Ty and Dax are going to be joining us in the game, and they're new to World of Darkness games. Me and Mags have been playing for years and years. I think he's got at least 10 more years on me. I'm not sure. I've been playing since I was 18. I'm in my 40s. That's all you'll get from me. So, over 20 years. But yeah, it's a great world. We're going to be playing the 20th anniversary edition. So the generally the classic lore still stands. I'll point that out too if they go over anything that was added in the recent like fifth edition. I'll like clarify for you. I tried to avoid fifth edition, but I also didn't watch most of these. I only watched what we watched yesterday.
Sounds good. I don't know
Let's
enough
see.
about any of them to compare.
Well, how about your character? You don't have to spill everything about your character. People are going to want to watch the game and learn. But what clan are you playing? Since we covered clans yesterday.
Let me pull it up. I don't know why it's not. A... Oh. I am a Torador.
Ah, I'm going to have fun making fun of you.
I wanted to go, I think, was it the Tremere that I have like the blood magic?
Yes.
I
There's
was
other clans that have blood magic that are different. The Tremere are known for it, even though they didn't actually originate it.
I was going to originally go with that one, but
A lot of people hate Tremere.
well, I realized that too. But the other thing was is that didn't really care. Ironically, I didn't care enough about the blood magic. I wanted to put points into aspects, and everybody was like, "You should probably just play something else if you're not going to put points into blood magic." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah, the magic is a Tremere's claim to fame. They're known as mages. Um, the clan itself was originally actually human mages. They tried to obtain immortality by stealing like the curse of vampirism through some ritual, and in short, they fucked it up. They didn't actually fuck up the ritual. They just didn't get what they expected. It cut them off from their avatar and their mage magic.
Hmm,
So great, you're vampires now. You lost your mage magic.
fun.
So they replaced it with blood magic, which some vampires that already had like blood magic, viewed them as usurpers that stole it.
Gotcha.
So but yeah, that's their claim to fame. And one of the neat things I will say about Tremere is that having different paths of thaumaturgy, they have so many different paths to choose from. It does make them very versatile if they know what they're doing. Whereas most clans would have three basic disciplines, would have three disciplines that their clan is known for. Some have a fourth. Tremere, with thaumaturgy, you basically, that one discipline has so many different paths. It's like having multiple disciplines. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, it makes sense. I saw a bunch of different paths that I could have
So
followed.
yeah, but it could be for more advanced players just because there's so much involved in it. But it's still fun. Don't get me wrong. Like in character, everyone hates Tremere, and that's like someone like it's been a running joke that everyone says fuck the Tremere. But playing wise, playing a Tremere can be fun.
Might do it if we do another playthrough at some point and I just understand things a bit more in general.
Yeah. Well, this first video we're going to watch, it's a guide to the Camarilla. And it's, like I said, it's set up like a new hire. And it's perfect since you don't know anything about the world. Imagine you just got embraced as a vampire and they're sitting you down and making you watch this video and expecting the video to explain everything. When me and Mags watched this video, we were cracking up. Dax was quiet because he was absorbing all the information, but as like experienced players watching it, it's like, oh my god, I can't believe they did this. All right, let's start the video. You ready?
Yep.
Can you hear the video good?
Yes.
If you're watching this video, you are finding yourself in an incredibly stressful and bewildering scenario. You are likely experiencing things you've never had to deal with in your mortal life. In truth, these first few evenings are pivotal for you and the people around you. But I must warn you, do not attempt to capture, transmit, or disseminate this information, or utilize this production outside of our approved networks. Any attempt to subvert this private network or the data contained within will be subject to severe sect penalties, up to and including final death. Recently, you were turned
You'll
into
die.
a vampire, what we collectively refer to as the Embrace. We almost never refer to ourselves using the V word. That wouldn't do for a whole host of reasons. Collectively, we are known as kindred. You and I are both kindred. All others who've been embraced are the kindred. The person who embraced you, your sire, has torn you from the normalcy of human life and thrust you headfirst into the dire and some say accursed existence, which will become the new norm, to use the parlance of these times.
Like how the slides show presentation.
You're likely watching this due to one of two.
Right? It's
possible
the cheesy new hire video.
Yeah.
It was great. I love this setup. I thought this was really creative.
were embraced by some impulsive soul who fled after inflicting this upon you, or some equally irresponsible individual embraced you without permission, attempted to hide the act, and has since been punished for their transgression. And now you feel an insatiable hunger unlike any you've ever felt in.
Hey, Ty,
Yep.
I'm curious, did you ever play the game Bloodlines? The original one, not 2.
Mm-mm. I didn't.
Oh, I highly, highly recommend it. It is a great learning experience. And this isn't really a spoiler because this is how the game starts. The entire plot of the game starting from is that you are a vampire that was embraced without permission.
Hmm.
You'll learn that in this video. It's one of the traditions. You can only make a new vampire if you're given permission to. So a vampire embraced without permission, and that sire was put to death. And now they have to figure out what to do with this new vampire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which oftentimes a new vampire without a sire like that, they're usually put to death as well. But again, not all the time. Yeah, I swatted that bot.
Oh, those are running. Oh, should we do a share chat?
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. That's my bad. Here, just sit chill, and I will get it to you.
Okay.
Boo! Boo, you want to say hi to Ty? Really?
Yeah, really.
That's my oldest daughter, Boo.
I'm obnoxious.
Yes, you are obnoxious. Now you know why parents eat their young.
You won't say that again.
All right. I got you in shared chat. We got that done.
You do
won't
have
say that
your
again.
mic on in the share chat, though.
Oh, my bad.
No worries.
Boo! Chill. There we go. Boo. Shoo. Oh, bust your butt. Stop hamming it up because I'm on. Stop it. She gets too embarrassed to be on the microphone, but she hams it up. She acts like a goofball whenever I'm on. I'm like, yeah.
All right.
Life, one that stirs urges in you, vile thoughts, and worse. You sleep all day and have a supernatural fear of the sun, and you simply can't keep your macchiato.
I'm sorry, I got distracted while we were doing that. The game, the reason I make mention of it is it still stands up this many years later. You do have to get mods for it to make it compatible because it did come out glitchy. But the writers were really on the money with it, and I recommend after you get all the necessary mods, there's another mod called the Clan Quest mod that adds a little more content to the game that was like cut, and it adds some like clan specific stuff in there, which adds more flavor to the world. But it's great because you start the game as a newly embraced vampire. So if you're not familiar with the world, it's a really good way to learn a lot about the politics, clans, generations. It's another great learning experience and a fun game. I mean, the fact that this came out in the 90s or early 2000s, I can't remember, and people are still modding it to this day shows how good the game is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I have a game I play that's kind of like that, although it's been going downhill for a while.
But I highly recommend if you get the chance to play it. I still pick it up and replay it, even though I've beaten the game with every clan in the game, and I still love it. Recently, the Clan Quest mod started adding their own stuff to it, which really made me impressed. They added the ability to join the Sabbat now in that game, which was never intended, but they did a really good job of it and brought in their own voice actors to voice act it and stuff.
Cool.
Yeah. All right.
Macchiato down, no matter how many times you visit the local cafe. Oh, and yes, you are functionally immortal, meaning you don't age, you don't need to fear disease, you're physically tougher than any living person. But that doesn't mean you've figured out God mode on your favorite video game. Sure, you don't have to eat, breathe, drink water, and the like, but that does not mean this new life is free of inherent danger. Fire, sunlight, the teeth and claws of other kindred, and massive trauma will put a stop to your 5-year plan in a heartbeat. Don't walk into oncoming traffic or jump off any tall buildings either. Oh, and I've seen the movies too. No amount of sunscreen will keep you from burning in ash.
Sorry, were you saying something?
No. I might have said that's funny or something.
Yeah. There are ways, like I'm seeing stuff. He said, yes, generally don't walk into traffic, don't jump from a tall building. There are ways around it, but if you're a newly embraced vampire, no. For instance, you're playing a Toreador, you have celerity, so you have the speed. There's another discipline called fortitude, which is superhuman like endurance.
Yeah.
And toughness. If you have the max level or the 5th level of it called Aegis, you could jump from a building and walk away unscathed. But it's going to take a little bit of time before you get there.
That makes sense.
It's still not recommended. You still shouldn't do it. Say there's an explosion and you get thrown from a building, then it would come necessary.
Yeah.
Agony. As far as the other superstitions, garlic doesn't do anything, you don't need to count the rice grains, and you should be able to enter any building and cross any bridge without being invited. Stakes to the heart won't kill you, but they will paralyze you, leaving you completely immobile. Some of you watching may already have some experience with these, unfortunately.
Okay, are you familiar with that, with stakes?
Yeah.
Okay. In World of Darkness, they don't kill you. They make you unconscious. To anyone, to someone that doesn't know, you would seem like a dead body. You don't have a heartbeat. You don't have anything. You're unresponsive. a normal human finding you staked would assume that you are just dead, but it's a condition called torpor. It's very similar to the state you're in when you sleep during the day. If someone were to find you during the day and not know, they would assume you were a dead body.
Yeah.
But you can't come out of that state until they remove the stake. Now, there's other versions of torpor. There's staking torpor, which you are supposed to still be aware of your surroundings in that state, but you're unable to act or any. You're like trapped inside a shell. Beat down torpor, like helpless torpor, before you reach final death, is a whole nother story. You're unconscious and your body is dead and limp, and something needs to heal you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a difference between you got beaten in the torpor and then you got staked in the torpor. Staked in the torpor, if they pull the stake out, you're up and ready to go, you know. Sorry. Ugh.
What is the Camarilla? Plainly, the Camarilla is a secret society. One part fraternity, one part government, the Camarilla was formed hundreds of years ago in response to the Great Inquisition that threatened to destroy all of us, the kindred. In the 15th century, a massive convention of kindred was assembled in secret in a little village in England. For hundreds of years prior, our kind fought amongst each other.
My computer just said OBS disconnected and reconnected, so I hope my stream is still going.
It looks like it is on my end. I got you up.
Okay, cool. Just checking. Sorry.
Probably just a hiccup. It happens. If it's just a hiccup, which I've had that with like power flickers and stuff like that, as long as it comes back like right away, it usually doesn't really interrupt the stream.
Okay, that's the first I've seen it, so threw me off.
I live out in the boonies, and we make jokes out here. If you sneeze too hard, the power will go out. Yeah, the convention, the meeting and the treaty that he's talking about is the Convention of Thorns. It's big in like World of Darkness lore, but usually, like, we're all pretty new embraced. I don't think it'll really come up in game, but it's interesting lore if you ever want to look it up. Like the World of Darkness, especially Vampires, has a collection of novels and stories and important figures. You know, if you're immersed in the lore, those things are neat. So, like, if you were to ever to go to like a convention or something like that, sometimes at like big events, especially if they're sponsored by the World of Darkness or whatever, or Blizzard, or sometimes they'll throw in important figures. Now, if you're a new player, of course, you won't know who that is. But for like people immersed, it's like meeting a celebrity. Like, oh shit, that person's here. Fuck. So, at the Convention of Thorns was one of my favorite moments because it's the funniest thing ever. A Zamiche, known as Micah Vikos, was sitting there. And they were so offended at the Convention of Thorns of the thought of the Camarilla, they literally ripped off their own junk, threw it on the table, and left. And from that day forward, they were Sasha Vikos. Yes, they ripped off their dick and threw it on the table.
Interesting choice.
Well, the Zamiche are the flesh crafters. And they're known for doing wild and crazy shit and often looking really inhuman and stuff. So there goes the Zamiche doing weird shit again.
Before, reasonable laws were codified for all of us to follow, 6 to be exact, which apparently trace their origins back to our biblical creation myth. These laws we call the traditions. More on those later. Like every silver lining, there were a few clouds as well. Of course, there were dissenters who refused to exist silently among humans as the Camarilla proposed. These monstrous kindred rejected the traditions and declared eternal war against the assembled convention. These bloodthirsty fiends formed their own diabolical cabal called the Sabbat, and they still plague the Camarilla to this night. As I stated, the
Okay, just be aware. From the point of view of the person doing the video, they are a member of the Camarilla. So, in turn, they do it very propaganda-like against the Sabbat. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're our enemies, so they're diabolical, evil, horrible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a little bit of propaganda thrown in there, which is great. I think it adds flavor to the video. But yeah, the Camarilla and the Sabbat are definitely opposed. And it's most people view it as the Camarilla are the good guys and the Sabbat are the bad guys, and that's not really the case. Now, the Camarilla might be nicer if you're a human than the Sabbat are. The Sabbat, many of them view humans as just cattle, you know?
Yeah.
But they're not nice. Let's just get that clear. And that was one of the first things I learned when I first started playing. I was like, oh, so the camera are the good guys. And they're like, no.
From what I've gathered, they just follow certain guidelines, all of them. And other than that,
yeah,
they do
but
what they want.
they're much more in depth. Where the Sabbat is like almost like a fanatical religion. The Camarilla is more like the dark side of politics. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So
Camarilla devised 6 simple rules for all kindred to abide by, ensuring the peace, safety, and security of our kind, as well as the secrecy of our existence. These traditions are universal, and as laws, they are absolute. The first tradition, the Masquerade. The most important tradition, the Masquerade, helps to ensure our survival as a species. Recall my earlier statement about the Inquisition and the Burning Times. Well, thanks to forces aligned against the Camarilla, we find ourselves in a second Inquisition, albeit one happening in secret, away from the public eye. Modern technology is inescapable, and the all-seeing eye of Big Brother inexorable. Violations of this tradition are taken very seriously, often with the most severe consequences. The second tradition.
Oh yeah, hold on. Let me clarify the Masquerade. A lot of people think that the Sabbat don't follow the Masquerade, but they actually they do, but they call it the Silence of Blood. It's very similar, but they get very offended if you say that. Aren't you just following the Masquerade too? So it's like, no, it's called the Silence of Blood. You know, it's one of those. Yeah, okay, technically, but they do view it differently. Whereas I know you hate it here, honey. Whereas the Camarilla are like doing it for, you know, the safety of all kindred. It's the right thing to do, and blah 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 blah. You don't want if humans found out about them, they'd be hunted down.
Yeah.
Whereas the Sabbat view humans as cattle, but they also know that they outnumber them. So it's like, yeah, we don't really care about them, and if no one's looking, yeah, we'll just smoke them. But it's just better that not everyone know about it.
Makes
Lady
sense.
Taker says hi, Ty.
Hello.
So I just wanted to clarify the Masquerade. All vampires in general, even anarchs, which are their own alignment. And let me clarify that real quick. There's anarchs and then there's independents. Anarchs are their own faction. It's not like any vampire that's not in the Camarilla or Sabbat are anarchs. There are independents that are just, we do us.
Yeah.
Anarchs still have their own hierarchy and they still have their own rules as well. A lot of people are like, wait, I thought anarchs were like, we do us, and that they have a little bit more freedom, but they still have rules just like the Camarilla.
Gotcha.
Independents are usually smaller clans or bloodlines. Giovanni are usually independent unless they choose to join a faction, but that's on more of an individual basis and not the entire clan.
Okay.
The second tradition typically governs the prince's right to rule. The prince claims domain over an entire city. Often, the prince will parcel out portions of the city to elders and influential kindred within his domain, granting them the right to claim domain within that territory. Technically, anywhere you stake your claim and make your haven, the place of safety where you sleep or hunt, is your domain. Without a nod from the prince, though, you are technically nothing more than a squatter. Third tradition, the progeny.
Okay, sorry. That's an important thing. Domain, and I've seen a lot of people get nailed for violating domain because the traditions are basically the big vampire laws. There's like 6. Your domain is your safe place. If you have to be acknowledged by the prince and given permission to operate in the city for you to have a haven, which would be your domain. If not, if you're not introduced to the prince, if no one knows you're there, yeah, you're a squatter. You don't have right of domain. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if you're an acknowledged member of the city, you're a member of the Camarilla, the prince knows about you, blah, 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 your haven is your domain. So if another member of the Camarilla breaks into your house and steals something or does something against what you would want, they are violating your right of domain. So it's they're breaking the law. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because it's not as big a deal in smaller tabletop games, but in large games where players start to make their own plots, there's been plenty of violations where they try to sneak in and off their enemy. Well, they didn't succeed, and now the sheriff's out looking for them because they fucked up.
Yeah, makes sense.
So,
Elephant in the room. You are likely a product of this law's disregard. If you haven't noticed yet, what we call unlife or the state of existence belonging to the kindred can be quite brutal. Luckily for both of us, the domain in which you reside has a more progressive interpretation of this tradition. More of our kind means more potential strain on the masquerade, less space for hunting, and more competition in the domain. It is the duty of the elder, aka the prince of the domain, to know who dwells within these boundaries. Thus, progeny is granted to those who earn the privilege. In modern nights, with the constant threat of the Inquisition, many princes have become exceedingly conservative in their domains, micromanaging.
okay. For instance, like I said, and like they say in the beginning, you have to have the right to make another vampire.
Yeah.
And he explained it pretty good. In humans are a limited quantity, and the prince is only in charge of a certain city. Well, the more vampires in that city, the more competition there is for feeding. And it's not just that. There's smaller sections divvied out to different clans. So say this area of the city is the Toreador hunting ground, right?
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be fair if they keep embracing and they have like twice as many vampires as every other person in the city. Well, now it's a competition for power. Why do they have so many? We should have more. Well, why do they get such a big feeding ground? It's not our fault they keep it. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So there's a lot of politics involved in that as well. So that's why the prince has to look at stuff like, oh, well, you have more than any other people, any other clan in the city. I don't think it's right for you to embrace. These people need to up their numbers, or what could be useful. Say, we've got a whole bunch of Tortas. We don't have a lot of muscle. And if there's a Sabbat incursion, we could really use some Bruja on the front lines. The Bruja, we give you the right to embrace so that we can have a little bit more muscle. It's little things like that they take into account. But also the accounting, which he's going to cover as well. When you embrace, you're in charge of whatever vampire you embraced. Normally, like he said here, this video would be essentially for someone that was embraced without permission. They don't have a sire anymore, so someone's got to teach them. But while a vampire is under the accounting, anything that new vampire does, the sire, the one that made it, is the one that's going to catch hell for it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's another thing that the prince has to take into account. Do we really need a new snot-nosed shit that we're going to have to teach all over again right now? Like if it's war times or something like that, do we need the numbers? Is it worth it? Stuff like that. No. They're just little things that make the politics more dimensional, more flavorful. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Managing the creation of our servants, the ghouls, as well. Fourth tradition, the encounter. Again, this tradition exists to further bolster the importance of the masquerade. The lick that brought you into the world of eternal night is also bound by jus noctis, or the laws of the night, for any actions you take. Keep this in mind if you ever have the opportunity to give the embrace. The choice to bestow this condition upon someone else should never be made impulsively. More importantly, if you've found yourself under someone else's accounting, be aware that your actions can and will impact your surrogate. Fifth tradition, the hospitality. Think of this tradition as simple courtesy at its core, with major potential consequences in the back end. When you were immortal, did you want people entering your home uninvited? For most of us, we wouldn't just let strangers come in unannounced, open up the fridge, and help themselves to the hi-fi. When you arrive in a new city, knock first. Track down the appropriate route to introduce yourself to the prince. Stand and be acknowledged. Sixth tradition, the destruction. Finally, the most potent tool in the prince's arsenal, the right of destruction. While this right used to belong to his sire for use against his progeny, i.e. you, in modern nights this right belongs only to the prince of the city. It should be clear to you that these 6 basic laws leave much in the way of interpretation. Indeed.
Okay, right of destruction. Let me clarify that a little bit. He was kind of vague on that because they say killing another of your kind. By that, he means like another member of the Camarilla.
Yeah, I figured.
Or, you know, another, if you're not sheriff or you're not one of the lawgivers, you're not sanctioned, then you're not really supposed to be the one to deal with anarchs or independents or anything like that. However, if you run across a Sabbat, which are direct enemies, and they're out to get you, take them out. They're a direct threat. They need to be dealt with. If you think you can handle them, that's another thing, is you don't have to jump them. You can report to the sheriff. But I'm saying, like, if it's them or you, don't worry. You're fine with destruction.
Gotcha. Does it go over, like, if another Camarilla for some reason attacked you, are you free to defend yourself?
They prefer, you are allowed to defend yourself, but they prefer, like, a staking or something where they can be brought to be judged.
Okay.
Stake them so that they can be brought forward and punished appropriately, you know, as opposed to final death, which is usually not that hard for a vampire. If you want to kill a vampire, you have to kind of really want to do it.
Okay.
Because vampires don't die from necessarily. It depends on the storyteller. I can't remember if tabletop they do it. I know in LARP, lethal won't kill a vampire. It'll just put them into torpor. You need to do a final aggravated damage to finally off them, to finish them off. So you have to be, like, intent on killing them. Like, there was purpose in killing them, not like an oops.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do prefer, you know, yeah, if you got to defend yourself, defend yourself. But of course, you know, try to bring them in for interrogation, questioning, and stuff like that. And you don't have to worry about them lying. Usually the prince or someone the prince has can read that fucker's mind to see if he's bullshitting or not. You know?
If they have high enough aspects or something else.
Right. It's a lot different when people have superpowers and you're like, oh, I'm just going to lie my way through this. I'm like, oh, have fun with that. I will say I found a way around Auspex that pissed everyone off in a game once. Oh my god. I can tell you it's fine.
Okay.
I was using double negatives on purpose. I just talked really fast. Did you try to kill this kindred? I never tried to kill anybody. I don't know what you're talking about. We Auspex you. Are you telling the truth? Yep, I am telling the truth.
I see what you're doing. Yep.
I used double negatives on purpose. I said, ain't never. I totally did. But it's not my fault. You're not paying attention. Everyone that got pissed they knew I tried to kill him. They're like, how is he telling the truth? So the storyteller pulled me off to the side and I explained it to him. And he goes, oh. He comes back and goes, yes, he's telling the truth. They're all like, what?
Nice.
Yep.
Each domain, prince, and city hierarchy interpret these laws in ways that suit their needs and desires. Laws only have significance if they can be enforced, and the Camarilla Cabal of a given city must maintain this equilibrium. The Lex Talionis is the fulcrum on which all conflicts balance. The Prince. You've heard me mention the Prince a number of times in the previous chapter, and it's likely you've found yourself in front of one if you're watching this. The Prince is the position of ultimate authority in a given city, and likely the most powerful kindred you will share a room with. The role of Prince can be multifarious and Machiavellian, but ultimately the Prince is the master of the domain. The Primogen. Typically, the Primogen are a coterie of elders within a city that assemble for various reasons. In some cities, the Primogen are the most powerful kindred to the prince's authority. Sometimes...
To clarify the Primogen, in most cases, the Primogen are the eldest or the most powerful or the most respected of each individual clan.
Okay.
So if there's, say, one of each clan in the city, each clan is going to have one representative be their Primogen and represent their clan before the prince and on council meetings and stuff like that. So those important meetings where they discuss domain and hunting territories and stuff like that, your Primogen will represent your entire clan.
Makes sense.
They exist to advise the prince less than to act as judicial opponents. In some cities, the Primogen Council forms organically. In others, they're appointed by the prince. The position is mercurial, complex, and frequently misunderstood by neonates like you. The Seneschal. Second in command, the Seneschal is nearly always appointed by the prince. Sometimes a trusted confidant, and sometimes an unwitting cat's paw. The Seneschal can be empowered to act in the prince's. In fact, the Seneschal is likely to be the primary barrier between you and the prince. Often the Seneschal is an elder of great influence, or a favorite child of the prince. Either way, the Seneschal is a figure to know and impress in the city. The Harpy. The Camarilla is a culture and community based around the feudal concept of prestation. This concept revolves around favors, social standing, and status within a domain. It may seem like an archaic concept to someone born in the 20th century, but its beauty is in its simplicity. If you need a favor, those who have it to give are obliged, and you are obliged to repay. Thus, favors are the credit of the Camarilla, and your reputation is your credit score.
This is very important, especially in the Camarilla, is boons. And the Harpies keep track of the boons. And there's different levels of boons, like life boon, lesser boon, stuff like that. So it usually is equal to what they... So if someone does you a favor, you owe them a boon in return. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if they call in that boon, depending on the level, it's usually a very bad thing, you know, if you say, no, I'm not going to repay my boon. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just keep in mind, if you give a boon, be prepared to deal it back.
Okay.
The harpies also track status. Status is important in the city as well. There's different statuses, like feared or respected and stuff like that. The more status you have, the more highly regarded you are in the city. So say you have more status than another vampire in the city, it would be considered bad taste for them to disrespect you because of your status. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At the center of this system, the harpies turn the wheel of the machine, often consisting of an influential coterie of socialites. The harpies keep track of favors, reputations, and scandals that occur within the domain. Recently, many princes have found the position of herald to be quite fashionable. The herald is often the leader of the harpies and speaks with the voice of the prince. At city gatherings, the herald proclaims the prince's edicts. Additionally, you may encounter a harpy known as chancellor. In very formal domains, the chancellor is the de facto keeper of prestation, maintaining the record of boons pledged in the domain. Not every domain has a chancellor, and indeed some don't give this responsibility to just a single kindred. The Keeper of Elysium. Elysium is a location, often specific buildings, parks, or places of cultural importance where kindred may assemble without fear of violence. You must know, based on the urges you've felt since your embrace, violence comes easy to our kind. The beast is a force of instinct that each kindred work against, but can push even the most docile of our kind to brutality. Elysium permits our kind to assemble and set aside petty squabbles, politics, and rivalries. The Keeper of Elysium is the host of this location, as well as the provider of the security for these sacrosanct sites. From the moment you enter to the time you leave, the Keeper of Elysium has authority over your presence and ensures civility is maintained.
Okay. Did you understand that?
So yeah.
Okay, so the Elysium would be where we're meeting. It's the general place. Usually the prince is there, where it's a gathering place for the vampires. And while you're in Elysium, you are not to commit any violence. It is considered very, very bad. Like breaking the law. It would be violating domain, basically, to commit any kind of violence. Usually, disciplines are not permitted inside Elysium. Sometimes they make exceptions, say for like the Nosferatu, if they want to use a level of their obfuscate to make themselves look more human.
Yeah.
You know, it's usually it's not aggressive. It's meant in a way of just making everybody more comfortable. Sometimes they'll make exceptions, but it's considered incredibly bad taste, or you could get in trouble for using disciplines in Elysium. I'm not sure how mags will run it, but in general, every Elysium I've dealt with, yeah, it was considered no to use disciplines at Elysium.
Okay.
And one of the characters he mentioned, Mama Oogly, is supposed to be the keeper of Elysium.
I think I remember him mentioning that character.
Yeah. So she would be the one you'd report to, or she would be either her or the sheriff would deal with violations of Elysium.
The Sheriff. One part investigator and one part enforcer, the sheriff acts as the martial arm of the prince's authority. In many domains, the sheriff acts as the intelligence gatherer, bloodhound, and the executioner of the prince's justice. These kindred are often feared, methodical, and calculating tools of the prince. One would be wise to avoid crossing them. Often, the sheriff is assisted by a coterie of...
I've played a sheriff before, and it is almost as stressful as being the prince. In a LARP with, say, 100, 150 player game, it's like trying to babysit the characters from What We Do in the Shadows.
Gotcha. Know a little bit about that show. I haven't sat down and watched through it, but I know I've seen clips.
Well,
in
if you
there.
played D&D or had a bunch of friggin' crazy murder hobos in a game, you kind of get the idea. Like, and you're supposed to keep the law on these people. I found it handy to deputize some of them. I would find like some of the biggest troublemakers, deputize them as like my sheriff deputies, and then give them jobs to keep them occupied. That was the best way I dealt with them. Like, if they're busy, they can't fuck up. So, yeah, it's stressful because they're like, yeah, they're supposed to be feared, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that they want, like, oh, another problem. Wonderful.
Deputies, or hounds, that operate with the sheriff's power. Other martial titles may exist from city to city, such as Scourge. If you happen to bump into this nightmare, pray you've not been excised from the domain.
You probably
Structure of the individual.
You probably won't run into a Scourge. They're usually for bigger cities. Usually the sheriff can handle it on its own. But very big cities with like a high population, say like New York, might have a Scourge. A Scourge in a lot of the books will be described as like the boogeyman. Because a lot of times a prince won't even announce if they have a Scourge. Sometimes they will, because the Scourge does get status for being the Scourge, but they're the ones that eliminate undesirables, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They hunt to kill. If you get on the Scourge's radar, they are the one that they do not fuck around. Whereas the sheriff might bring you in for proper justice, the Scourge's intent is to end you right where they found you. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, like the prince's personal assassin.
Domain.
Yes. That's why the Scourge is considered like the boogeyman. If you go into a city and you don't know if there's a Scourge, but there's rumors of one, it's probably a bad idea if you plan on like just sneaking in and not announcing yourself or something like that. If you're not announced, or maybe a thin blood or other things that would be considered undesirable, it's something to be weary of if you get caught. So,
Camarilla is governed by a council of elders known as the Inner Circle. Their representatives, the Justicars, are appointed by this council to act as their eyes, ears, and gavels. The Justicars, appointed every 13 years, are each represented by a clan of the Camarilla. Tonight, 5 Justicars act as the supreme unmitigated authority of our sect, where once there were 7. Sadly, the Bruja and Gangrel have opted to part from our consortium in recent years, while other new additions to the sect have yet to find representation among the Justicars. These potent kindred, while wielding unquestionable authority within the sect, simply can't exist in every...
yeah, the Justicars of those individual clans like Gangrel and Bruja were members of the Camarilla for centuries, and recently they stepped down. They left. Both for similar reasons. They did not agree with the Camarilla politics and the bullshit.
Makes sense.
Gangrel and Bruja both, whereas Gangrel are more, nature and wild and believe in like strength and stuff like that. And Bruja, of course, being rebels and warriors, they both were like, yeah, politics and this bullshit, it's just fucking annoying. The Justicar for the Camarilla was for Bruja was Theo Bell, and he has his own novel about him, and he's like one of those. He's that motherfucker, I was like, yeah. When he left, I was like, I bet every Justicar in that room said, "I'm not stopping him." Yeah, you go tell him no.
Place at once. Serving the authority of the Justicars are the Archons. These agents act with all the power of the Justicars and are to be feared absolutely. On several occasions throughout this video, you've heard me mention the term coterie. So, what is a coterie? A coterie is a small group of kindred, often with common goals or interests. united in support of one another. The coterie is the de facto assembly of kindred. Sometimes the coterie all come from the same lineage. Other times, a coterie forms from kindred who love the same music or art. Regardless of why, the coterie functions as more than just a social clique. It is a necessary method of survival. Those rare kindred who attempt to go it alone in this world find their road to be incredibly difficult, and often a short one. In this new existence, friends and allies are the most important asset a kindred can have. You could be the smartest lick in the room. If nobody knows you, respects you, or has your back, you'll find every door locked come sunrise. Act quickly and make friends where you can. I know you have questions, and rightly so. Don't worry, they'll be answered in due time. For tonight, though, you should have plenty to ponder. Keep your head on straight, mind your manners, and don't do anything stupid. I'm your surrogate sire, and I'll see you again soon.
Because somebody always does something stupid.
Not surprised.
One of my favorite sayings in a game is, "It seemed like a good idea at the time." It always does, and then you fuck up, and you're like, "I didn't mean to fuck up." All right, I'm trying to think of what video to play next. Do you have any questions?
Off the top of my head, I mean, I'm sure it'll pop up more like as I'm playing. Like, I don't know how much I'm gonna have this memorized.
Oh yeah, like I said, and you'll have questions, and that'll be fine, and we'll all be there. And the benefit of a tabletop game is basically we'll all be working together. I'm going to be a part of your group, so I'll be there for advice in the game with you.
Awesome.
So there's that benefit. It's not like in a LARP game. In a lot of cases, it feels like you're kind of thrown in a little fish in a big fucking pond. But a tabletop game, usually the players at the table are all going to be in a coterie together. You're going to be a team. And it works really well that way. So I wouldn't worry about it.
Cool. Like, I think I've said it before, but the only one I've really played before was obviously D&D, and there was like something similar, but it was with the same group of people.
Yeah, but think about it. In D&D, everybody meets up in a tavern or something, and you guys didn't know each other before, and now you're a party.
Yeah.
So it's kind of similar that way in Vampire, but you're all vampires. You meet in Elysium. The prince kind of puts you on a job. You get to know each other, and you kind of become the group that works together because you know each other.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So, yeah, a coterie is he kind of explained it, but it's a grouping of people of different clans. It's whatever your grouping is. There's clan, which is your family, your bloodline, but then there's a coterie, which is the people you choose to hang out with. So, a mishmash, like you're a Toreador, I'm a Bruja, we got a Zemiche, we got a Gangrel. That grouping would be, our group would be a coterie.
Yeah.
So let's see.
That's
Everything you need.
I was
What?
thinking of, at some point I was thinking of sending you like my character just to see what you think of it.
I could look at it. That's fine. I mean, if you want to. I know Mags has been busy lately, so if he can't handle it, I could take a look at it.
He already went through it and he said it was fine. I was just curious on what people think of it, just because obviously
what really matters is what you think of it. Me, like, it's difficult. I played in a location. I'm trying not to dox myself.
Gotcha.
Where everybody was a power gamer, and it was difficult because you basically had to learn how to power game just to keep up with everybody.
Gotcha.
It's not, but I prefer games, and I have played in games where that wasn't the case, where role play was what was important. And I mean, in my area, they kept trying to enforce it, but it was really difficult. It was just so many people were so used to it, it was just ingrained. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Min-maxing power gaming found every loophole to be the dirtiest player on the field. You know what I mean?
Makes sense.
Whenever I tried to make a role play character, I'll give an example. I made a role play specific character that was a priest that was genuinely just trying to be a good guy, and I got killed on my first night. And when the storyteller asked why, they said, "Oh, well, he always makes dirty characters, so we wanted to take him out before he became a problem." I was like, "Really, really?" They metagamed killing me.
That's annoying.
That's how it was in my area. So yeah, it kind of became a thing where you had to be the dirtiest player on the field just to keep up with everyone else, and so that's why I kind of have that view, and I try not to, but whenever I look at characters, that's the first thing I note is how powerful they are. Not saying that that's the right way to do it. I'm not agreeing with that. I'm just saying that that's just what I'm used to because that's what I had been trained to look for. That's why I say what's important is you. We're playing a role playing game, and you should play whatever you like and what you want to do. You don't want to do something because somebody else tells you should.
I know. I was just. It's just like a general impression. Like that's why I've asked a few people, just because.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that's fine.
Because I also don't want to just like. I don't think I have, but like, I would have hated to have been like, oh, I put a bunch of points in this, and it just like, oh, you're not gonna end up doing anything with that. That was kind of a waste, and be like, oh
Eh,
shit, later.
you never know when things will come in handy.
Yeah.
I took an ability on my vampire character once that was not a listed ability. You are allowed to do that if there's something that you don't think is covered or they don't have. You can talk with the storyteller. Hey, can I take this? And even if you think it might not be useful, for instance, I made my wife made a character once. She played. She wanted to play like a pirate style gangrel that was alive during the pirate ages, and she had that kind of knowledge. So she took stuff like seamanship.
Yeah.
Well, that's not listed there, but she wanted it because her character would have it. And sure enough, there ended up becoming a part where they actually needed someone with a boat that could sail, and she's like, I can do it. I took rope use. I was like, I always liked rope use in the old D&D. I saw that they kind of got rid of it, and I always liked the idea because it wasn't just, oh, I know how to use it. It's everything about ropes, knots, lassos, everything. And I ended up lassoing a giant monster and bronco busting it in the game. But you never know when you might need it.
I know I've kind of like built around the aspects thing and just like trying to like know what's around me, I guess.
And that's fine. Auspex users are always useful.
Yeah.
You can see if people are lying. You have a chance of seeing people hiding in obfuscate. Auspex users always come in handy.
My goal, I don't know if this would be considered a meta goal, probably, is to get to level 4 so I can read people's minds.
Yeah. And I played, I made the character to basically be the brute force in the group. That's why I waited to make my character. I wanted to know what everyone else was doing first.
Yeah.
And it sounded like muscle was needed in the group. So that's what I made my character to be. I'm filling in a gap because I know the genre.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Appreciate it.
And like I said, it's like D&D in that way where you're like, okay, nobody's made a cleric. Okay, I'll play a cleric. We need a healer. So yeah, it don't worry about it. Again, you show me, I'll take a look at it. I'll give you my opinions.
I sent it to you, but it doesn't have to be right now if you don't want to.
Yeah. All right, let's see. What should we look at next? I mean, we did the long video about the clans. I would like to go over the clans with you. So it's good to know because a big part of the role play in the game is clan stereotypes. It comes up a lot in a vampire game. to be honest, to be very blunt, it's very akin to racism.
That makes sense.
I don't like to say it, but it does matter because there's a lot of stereotypes to each clan, and there's also ancient enmities between those clans. Some clans have like very deep rooted like hatred between each other. Say like gargoyles and the Tremere, because the Tremere created the gargoyles in the Dark Ages against their will. The ritual was very fucked up, and when the gargoyles were freed, a lot of the surviving gargoyles really hate Tremere, and the Tremere really hate the gargoyles.
Hmm.
So it does matter in role play aspects.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm going to play to my strengths as a Bruja. The Bruja are basically big, dumb meatheads. They're known as rebels, and they just bitch and holler about everything. And that's what they're known for. They're also known for having a short fuse. These are things, these are stereotypes because they know about them. Toreador are known for being the artsy ones. I played a Toreador and I got gay jokes left and right. Even though I made my Toreador to be a combat Toreador, learned like potence and fortitude out of clan and stuff like, I was a badass on the fighting field. I still got the jokes because those were like ingrained stereotypes about the clan. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess we should do that. I don't know if like Dax and Mags join us in the middle. They've already gone through this video, but I think it's a good one for you to learn.
Okay.
Even the clans I mentioned have.
Here, let me go back to the beginning.
What are the vampires going to be like in this particular world? Almost every culture in the world has some form of vampire myth, sometimes even several. And with how long this kind of creature has been a massive feature of...
Another reason why I like this video, there's a lot of videos on clans, but this guy, the Burger Krieg, makes it humorous, and he's really good about using layman's terms and stuff for you to understand.
Nice.
Whereas all the other ones think that because it's the vampire genre, they have to talk monotone and dark and sound evil. I'm like, no, it's boring.
The cultural zeitgeist, there are countless renditions by countless creatives, so there are so many options to choose from. Not to mention, you can just make new shit up. The answer Vampire the Masquerade gave to this question was... yes. There are a total of 13 clans in Vampire the Masquerade and a whole bunch of bloodlines that we're not going to talk about today, and they all have different attributes and abilities because they are descended of the 13 different antediluvian vampires. These are famously the vampire...
Okay, let me clarify something just before we start this video. He does speak about version 5. But I can clarify whenever he makes version 5 references. It's very easy. I went through it yesterday. I know what he's talking about. It's mostly in regards to the disciplines, and he does mention a couple of new clans that have changed in version 5, but we're not playing version 5. So I can clarify and say that that's not the case in the world we're playing.
Gotcha.
All right?
Okay.
Vampires of the third generation, and while it is not clear that these are the only vampires of the third generation that ever existed, they are the only 13 ones that survived the flood, meaning they were the only ones that were able to procreate. This is a very cool fact about vampire lore, is that it's often ambiguous and contradictory, which not only gives it a certain mystique, but also makes it very forgiving to run, because nothing is truly completely set in stone. Aside
That is a great part of the role play. If you say, read a book, and it's from the viewpoint of, say, the Bruja, they're going to tell the story from the Bruja's point of view. But if you read the same story from, say, another clan like, say, Tremere, they're going to say from their point of view. So then when the lore gets brought up, depending on which side of the lore, it might be a different story than somebody else knows, even though it's the same thing. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that that's a very well-built world. Because how many ancient legends and stuff are only out there, and you can only assume what you hear is the truth because the people that did it aren't alive anymore to tell you.
Yeah, makes sense.
I just have to take your word for it. That's why some like creation myths, some stories are different depending on who you talk to. Bruja are very big on when they're big. When I think it was Enoch fell, and they're very pissed about that. They're very, very pissy about it. But depending on who you talk to, it's always somebody else's fault. So that's funny.
Aside from like the most fundamental details, clans are kind of your ethnicity as a vampire, or kindred as they prefer. In practice, this means that you share certain physical traits with other members of your clan. Certain personality attributes are a lot more frequent. You have been brought into the night through a similar cultural lens, and you probably have very strong connections mostly to other members of your clan. And yeah, look, listen, I know that this isn't how ethnicity really works. It's an arbitrary socially constructed category of categories that is used in anthropology. However, it is the analogy that tracks best for what a vampire clan is. The thing is, just like with ethnicity, every individual is still fundamentally their own person with their own personality, their own goals, abilities, and ambitions. So a given character can be pretty much anything that you want them to be. They don't have to agree with the loose, shared ideals and cultural norms of their given clan. Clans tend to turn, or as they call it, embrace, certain specific types of people, but you don't become that type of person by being embraced into the clan. That's not how this relationship...
Okay, do you get what he's saying?
Yeah.
Every clan has their own stereotype, but you don't have to be that stereotype.
I get you.
For a long time, like Malkavians, this is a term that's usually used with like older gamers. They'll refer to a lot of Malkavians as fish milks, which is somebody who just makes it as a silly comic character. Malkavians can be a very serious clan to play, but almost nobody does it. It's very rare. It's so many people just uses it as an opportunity to fuck around because you're playing a crazy character, so they just do crazy stuff and think, well, I'm a Malkavian, so I can do it. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
I played a Malkavian, and whenever you play a Malkavian, the clan downfall is you get a derangement and insanity. Now it's much more loose. You can pick almost any. In older editions, they had excuse me, I got the hiccups. They have a set list of derangements to pick from. I had picked one, Power Madness. I was obsessed with power. And people for a long time didn't even know I was Malkavian. They thought I was a Bruja because I was so strict and straightforward. And so I didn't follow that formula of the silly Malkavian just doing crazy shit for no reason. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
A derangement like Power Madness is, I'm going to be in charge. I am the best. I will rule. Like, that's a scary motherfucker.
of causation works. So ultimately, you will find every category of person in every given clan. Of course, you will be affected by the prejudices that other people may or may not hold about your particular clan, which is something that, unfortunately, very closely tracks with ethnicity. Every clan also has a bane, a particular vampiric weakness that affects them. Very important though, no matter what clan you are, the sun will fuck you up. Vampiric society is roughly organized along three major governments or ideologies called sects. The Camarilla is the biggest and most influential of all of them, where most campaigns are set. They're an old school feudalistic society that clearly clearly delineates and illustrates the ranks and positions and social order that they expect everyone to adhere to. And they see themselves as the sole legitimate government of all kindred. The Anarchs are an ultimately very ideologically diverse group that at some point said, hang on, we actually don't like this thing where we just are ruled by the elders of our clans all the way up to the Antediluvians. Antediluvians, the very existence of which the Camarilla denies, by the way. So they did the Anarch revolt a while back, and were mostly crushed by the forces of the Camarilla and the Human Inquisition. The Sabbat was kind of the ISIS of the Anarch Revolt. They became a very powerful organization dedicated religiously to the jihad, which is the process of the younger generations destroying the elders so they can gain freedom from their rule and then rule humanity in turn. And even though they do want to rule the world openly, they still stick to the Masquerade, which is a rule that kind of everyone adheres to because they know that if humans find out vampires exist on a large scale again, they will, like, kill most of them again. I will now give you an overview of all...
And like I said, the Sabbat call it the Silence of Blood. If you call it the Masquerade, they get really pissy.
Yeah.
It's basically the same thing.
The 13 different vampire clans, and instead of ordering them alphabetically, I have ordered them by relevance in terms of how likely you are to get in touch and how important they are going to be in a standard Vampire the Masquerade campaign, also called a chronicle. We will start with the 3 patrician clans of the Camarilla, a distinction that is informal and mostly relevant to people who are interested in large-scale international Camarilla politics, because these are the 3 clans that between them hold the most princedoms, aka most of the cities are ruled by these 3 clans. Keep in mind once again that there are princes of every clan in various different cities around the world, and also any given member of a clan can be part of any given type of government or institution in the world of vampires. The grandiose and powerful clan Ventru, also known as the Blue Bloods, or the Clan of Kings, represents the aristocratic Machiavellian type of vampire with access to vast wealth. Throughout history, they have occupied the position of pragmatic rulers of worldly matters, be that as knights during the medieval era or wealthy industrialists today. And they do in fact see themselves as the rightfully ruling clan over all the other vampires, because what would the rabble do without their guidance? Even to this day, a significant portion of new embraces into the Clan of Kings come from actual, like, real-world nobility. In the old world, more so than the new, for obvious reasons.
And he is right. There does tend to be a lot of Ventru princes or Ventru leadership. Even in the Bloodlines game, the prince in that game is a Ventru. I don't... how do I describe it? They just tend to fall into that position. And at first, I'll be share you kind of like my viewpoint. When I first started playing, I thought becoming the prince would be like a goal for my character. And I found after time, being the prince sucks. And you find that out, when you learn that, you find out why other clans don't want to be the prince. It sounds like a great job because you're in charge of everyone, but that's not really the case. You're also responsible for all the fucking headaches. And that's why you'll find a lot of elders, Primogen and stuff like that, who should probably be prince or better qualified, won't take the position because it sucks. They'd rather do their shit in secret in the shadows and have no one paying attention to them. So that once you get used to that idea, and that's why princes or the Ventru already see themselves as the leader. So if the position is vacant, usually Ventru will be like, "Oh, I got that. That's me. I got that."
They're happy to be the puppet king.
Right. It's just it's like something ingrained in their system, like Toreador, for example. If you read I'm not sure what they're going with, but they used to be enamored by gorgeous things, or pretty things or things that are highly crafted.
Yeah, I have it in front of me actually.
Right.
When they experience something truly remarkable, they must make a self-control or instincts roll.
Right. To
Or
keep from getting enamored by it.
yeah,
A lot of people in the LARPs I played never role played that, which I found frustrating. I used to call them out on it all the time. I specifically had a weapon that was crafted times 5, so that every time I drew my weapon, I'd say, if you're a Toreador, you better throw that willpower check or that check to see if you're enamored by it. But yeah, most storytellers just find it too stressful, or it takes away from the scene or whatever, and don't make them role play it, even though that's their clan downfall. And other clans have more severe ones, like Bruja are more prone to rage. So I have to do frenzy checks with one less self control than anybody else. So it has more severe downfalls for other clans, but it's their weakness. Well, I was like, well, if I have to do this, the Toreador should have to do theirs. Fuck that.
makes sense.
But that's just an example. But yeah, Ventru, the reason you'll see most of them in charge is because they see themselves as that. In the Dark Ages, clans were also split up in nobility and lower class as well. They called the nobility ones the high clans. It was the high clans and the low clans. Ventru, of course, were a high clan. Bruja were even considered a high clan. They were considered nobility back in the day. But things change over time. It's not low clan so much as like in the Dark Ages, there was more wars, there was more battles, more things to fight. And Bruja in the Dark Ages were considered like warrior poets, almost like William Wallace type characters.
Okay.
So in the modern knights, with less wars and less like that, they became like the rabble. They don't have wars to fight, so they fight like injustice or whatever. That's why they're known for rebelling or going against the norm. Is they don't have any wars to fight anymore. That's the way I see it. Ventru in the old days were more warriors too. One famous Ventru used to be a knight in the a soldier in the Roman army. So now you see a lot of Ventrus in boardrooms. So a lot of things change in the modern knights from what it used to be.
Aristocrats tend to have very big bank accounts and a sense of decorum, which are two things that the Ventru really care about. They often embrace successful business people or people who they reckon have the potential to become very successful business people, but also stalwart figures in military or law enforcement positions that demonstrate good leadership and administrative skills. Before the embrace actually happens, there's usually a prolonged interview process, which obviously the intended recruit knows nothing about. They just think they're meeting very frequently with a very peculiar business partner that has taken a strange interest in them. This is then followed by intense and comprehensive coaching, some might call it micromanaging, to instruct the new arrival in the ways of the clan and the ways of the Camarilla. The clan has access to the disciplines Dominate, which is mind control, Fortitude, which is supernatural toughness, and Presence, which is incredible allure and charisma, making them very powerful social characters that are rather difficult to take down because of their physical and mental resilience. Between you and me, though...
So that's another thing why Ventru are good rulers. It's hard to assassinate them when they have such high when they have fortitude as an in clan. It's
Yeah.
and they have things like Dominate, which is mind control, and Presence. They can control a room at higher levels, which usually the prince is going to be an older vampire. Those can get really dirty really fast.
Yeah.
There's a trick a lot of Ventru do using Dominate. I think it's been a while since I looked into it, to be fair, but I think it's a level called Subsume the Spirit. They can basically body ride one of their ghouls. So their real body is somewhere else completely, but they have control over a ghoul body. And they'll walk around like that and be totally safe. You would have to figure out where the real body is to do anything to them. If you kill the ghoul, their spirit just goes back to their body.
Yeah.
So it's another a lot of Venture will do that as like an insurance policy to keep themselves safe. And then higher level presence, it the fifth level is called Majesty. If you have Majesty open, everybody has to respect your authority. As long as you don't take an offensive action, they have to respect you, unless they do like a willpower challenge to try to break your Majesty. But it's a good way to keep a room under control. It usually ends most like combats, even. If somebody walks in and throws up Majesty, if you fail that test, even if you were mid-swing, you stop. Because that person considers it's offensive. So you kind of get why they would be a ruler type clan.
Makes sense.
And I know, Torador, you have presence as well. You would have the same access to that.
I have, I think, 1 point in a presence.
Well, yeah, and that's fine, and it comes in handy. And the second level, Dread Gaze, is a great defensive technique. If you're in trouble and you win a Dread Gaze, it makes people back the fuck off. They run. All right, so if you're like overwhelmed and you pull off a Dread Gaze, I mean that's what it is. It's a defensive. It's fuck off. Don't ever underestimate it.
So, the Venture only need one discipline, and it's called money. The Venture thing is their rarefied tastes. Every kindred knows that not all blood is created equal, and the Venture can stomach only the finest caviar. Every Venture has a particular type of person that they like to drink blood from, and they have immense difficulty drinking blood from people who do not have that attribute. This attribute...
Yes, this is very important for a clan downfall, which, you know, a lot of people overlook. In hard times, say you can't find the blood you need, they can't feed.
I figured that'd be the case.
A lot of them will find their specific type and either ghoul them or have them in a herd and keep them protected, so that it's almost like having your own supply.
Yeah.
But it is a negative downfall, and a lot of people overlook it. It sucks if you are, say, out on a mission or stuck somewhere and you can't get that specific kind. Venture are fucked.
Attribute can be effectively anything, so long as it isn't common. It could be twins, it could be vegans, it could be morbidly obese people, it could be people
I wouldn't
who
say
could
that
do
one's uncommon.
calculus in their head.
Right.
It could be morbidly...
It's more about being specific.
I know. I was just making
It
a
has
joke.
to be a specific. It could be college students. It could be some. I knew a Venture anti-tribute. Anti-tribute are like the Sabbat version of clans. I mean, it's very loosely based, and even the Burger Creek goes into talking about that in the Bloodlines video. But basically, a Venture anti-tribute would be a Sabbat Venture, and they tend to be like the anti-tribute version of clans tend to be a much darker version. Not always, again, loosely based. But I saw a Venture anti-tribute that they fed only on children.
Hmm.
You know, like I said, darker versions. They see humans as cattle.
That's literally the opposite of one of my weaknesses.
It's
Don't feed off of
mine.
children.
It's mine too. I have prey exclusion children. A lot of people take that because I'm not going to do it anyways. I might as well get the flaw for it.
Exactly. That's my thought process.
Obese vegan twins who can do calculus in their head good. Every clan also has a compulsion, which is a particular neurosis that their beast, their vampiric side, will every once in a while really try to drive at the forefront of their mind. For the Venture, this is arrogance. They need to rule, they need to be in charge, they need people to obey their commands. The Venture Antediluvian is called, drumroll please, Venture. And not only is there very little known about him at all, but also officially, in keeping with Camarilla policy, Clan Ventru denies his existence. Evidence suggests, however, that he went to India
He
after
doesn't
the
exist.
destruction of the first city in the flood, because basically most of the clan's ancient history takes place in India. Some notable Ventru include Fiorenzo Savona, who, despite being rather young, is a very influential figure in the inter-city connections, especially in Central America. Mithras, who, yes, is the sun god Mithras, which is brilliant, because if anyone asks you why you are only out at night, you can just tell them that you've been hauling the sun across the sky. And Lucinda, a powerful Justicar dedicated solely to her mission of eradicating the worst and most dangerous enemies of the Camarilla. The gorgeous and creative...
I don't know if it will come up in game, but the Camarilla does have a most wanted list.
Okay.
That's why he just mentioned Lucinda of the Ventru clan. She is like dedicated to that list. It's called the Red List. And they even came up with a book, a World of Darkness book about it. The Camarilla Red List, or the Red List, and you can look it up, and it'll tell notable characters that made the Red List, the most wanted list. And you have to do something really fucked up, or multiple fucked up things, to get put on the Red List. There's, hunted or wanting to be killed. There's crimes and diablerie. You have to do something like fuck up an entire city or something to get put on the Red List, or be a I don't know if it'll come up, but it is very bad in even the Sabbat to be an infernalist, which is working with demons or the devil. If you hear infernal or infernalist, even the Sabbat, which are fucked up, would go, no, kill on sight. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So infernalists have been put on the Red List, stuff like that. I had a character that was a mentally unstable Bruja that went on a rampage through a downtown city with a monster truck singing "Why Can't We Be Friends?" That character got put on the Red List. The storyteller told me, they're like, you're on the Red List now, right? And the character was just mentally insane.
Yeah.
So he just didn't get it. It wasn't like a Malkavian derangement. There's negative traits in LARP that add more spice. They work almost like flaw points. And there is a negative mental trait called unstable, and I had that times 5.
Fun.
So I was literally like a brain broken, and it was just from there was a backstory to it and a reason why he was so brain broken and everything. He saw doing really fucked up shit as being nice. Like, he declared his love to a gangrel sheriff by sending her a box, like a heart-shaped box that would normally hold chocolates, but when she opened it, it had actual human hearts in it.
Romantic.
He's like, I'm being nice. I get her gift. That type of stuff. People found that character hilarious.
Reminds me of the one Psycho in one of the Borderlands games.
Yeah, I was a powerful character. I was a Bruja, and I had won every fight. And the gangrel sheriff, which was an NPC, managed to beat me in a fight. So he became enamored with her and kept sending her these creepy gifts. He thought he was being sweet, and she's like, what the fuck? Yeah. Because he had, there's a flaw. I don't know if you read it in the flaws. It's called conspicuous consumption. You can't feed normally on blood. You have to eat in the internal organs of your victim to get nourishment.
I don't think I noticed that one.
Yeah, it's like a 4 or 5 point flaw. It's a hefty one, because you also have to take the merit, eat food along with it. Otherwise, you can't eat the food to get the nourishment. So it comes you have to get the merit along with the flaw.
Huh.
But yeah, so he ate organs, so he's like, well, maybe she'll like these. All right, sorry, I don't want to go too sidetracked into like my characters. I just like giving examples from like history that I know. And here you go. This is your important part, the Toreador.
Clan Toreador, also known as the Roses or the Clan of Vanity, represents the highly seductive, erotic type of vampire with an impeccable sense of style. They are practically in love with human civilization and culture, seeing themselves as the ultimate arbiters of what is based and what is cringe. Because their creative sparks tend to disappear over the centuries, they ultimately often take up the roles of patrons of the art, so they're all in the entertainment industry. Consequently, Toreador are primarily embraced from three major groups. Artists of all stripes and definitions, from sculptors to writers to figure skaters. Notable connoisseurs of art, like agents, critics, or investors. And finally, just people who look good. That's a very valuable thing to have for the Toreador. The process of initiation into the clan can be quite nice. You get all this love and attention from this powerful old being, and you have all your old and new incredible needs.
Did you ever watch American Horror Story Hotel?
No, but I know of it.
Lady Gaga's vampire character would be considered a very Toreador-esque. She loved the arts. She liked pretty people, models, stuff like that. She is, in my opinion, a very good example of what a Toreador would be.
Okay.
And then, like I said, darker shades, like a Toreador anti-tribu. A lot of them are like into body piercing or tattoos, stuff like that, body alteration as like an art form. You get what I mean? I've seen a lot of people go that route with it. It's like a darker version of the Toreador. Yeah, I played a Toreador once that was a gay porn star named Santiago.
Taken care of. Some might say you are being love bombed and thus ultimately become highly dependent on your sire. And with how particular Toreador can be and how easily bored they can get, you might just be dropped by the sidelines for a single misstep, or just because some new fascination entered their lives. The clan has access to the disciplines Auspex, which are highly sharpened senses, Celerity, which is super speed, and Presence, which, like with the Ventru, is the great alluring charisma. And yes, I will be repeating what each of these mean, just so you can learn them. The Toreador clan famous their aesthetic fixations, as they are so incredibly obsessed with aesthetics that they cannot stand not being surrounded by things that satisfy their own personal beauty standards. This doesn't need to be like the objective high art. There can also be people who feel...
Okay, just to clarify, he's going to go over like the version 5 clan downfall.
Yeah.
Which it's a little bit different if you listen, and he does clarify it a little bit, talking about how it used to be something else. You're going by the used to be.
Gotcha.
Comfortable in like a trash can Oscar the Grouch kind of milieu, and they would feel very irritated in like a high society restaurant. It used to be in older editions they would just get absolutely transfixed with something beautiful that they would see, but I reckon they changed this because a few too many Toreador got transfixed with the beauty of the sunrise. This is represented in the newest edition, Vampire 5, with their compulsion, which is obsession, by which they really become hyperfixated on some particular thing, be it a person, a hobby, could be a particular song that they just have stuck in their head, and they're thinking about this thing all of the time and they just cannot get it out. So basically all Toreador have OCD, ADHD, and borderline personality disorder.
There you go.
Antediluvian is Arakel, also known as Ishtar, the most beautiful woman who ever lived or unlived or ever will live or unlive, from the first city where she danced with bulls. Some claim she is actually the oldest of...
I say she danced with balls.
Even others claim that she is the twin sister of Antediluvian Malkav. Some notable Toreador include Rafael de Corazon, probably the most well-known of the co-founders of the Camarilla, Catherine of Montpellier, historian and probably the most influential cultural
I think you'll like the
organizer
last one.
of the Vampiric Society of Continental Europe, and Melinda Galbraith, who was actually the leader of the Sabbat for a while, even though she was pretending to be of a different clan. The secretive and conniving clan Tremere, also known as...
It's a different clan then.
Okay.
There was one that did that. Oh God, which clan was it? It's driving me nuts. There was a clan, and this guy was the prince of a city, or he was in the Sabbat, and he got all the Sabbat in the city to come to one place, and then he killed them all. Oh, I think it was La Sombra. He killed all the Sabbat in that city, and then goes, "Hey, can I join the Camarilla? Use that as his like ticket to join the Camarilla."
Nice.
I was like, "Damn!" It was just because he got bored, and he found the Camarilla politics to be more entertaining.
Enough.
The Warlocks, or the Pyramid, represents the kind of vampire what can do magic. Even though they are one of the most powerful clans in the Camarilla and everyone needs to deal with them, nobody really trusts them. And this isn't just because they can do fucking magic, but also because they kind of are a very young clan and stole their vampiric heritage. The kind of people that the Tremere embrace vary a lot because they have this whole complicated process of asking various people for permission so that the leadership of the clan can determine who might be useful to the clan in the near future. They do have a tendency to embrace intellectuals, especially the kind of intellectual that has a little bit of a fascination with the occult. But probably the most important trait to have is an inborn tendency to accept authority, because the Tremere are very authoritarian. Perhaps because they are not particularly old, they are the most explicitly organized of all of the clans, and they have...
One of the big things about the Tremere, and how I know them best, because I played during like the peak of all that, was that the downfall of the Tremere is that all Tremere are bloodbound to the elders of the Tremere. Like, if you join the Tremere, if you become embraced as a Tremere, you must drink from what they call the cup, which is the blood of the elders. You blood bond yourself to them so that they have better control over you. So when he says they're very authoritarian, that this has changed since the fall of Vienna, their chantry in Vienna. They now... Their clan downfall now is that they are very easy to blood bond. I think it like counts double each time they drink another vampire's blood. But they no longer are bound to the cup. There used to be a clan specific merit for Tremere where it was something like you had to keep secret because if anyone found out, you'd be in big trouble, which was not embraced with the cup, and you were unable to be blood bound. It was like you didn't want them to find out because then you'd be in big trouble. As long as you just kept your mouth shut and kept going, they had no idea. You just said, "Yes, yeah, you're the boss. I'll do whatever you say." Even though you weren't actually bloodbound to them. You just kept it to yourself and didn't say nothing. So...
have a very strict chain of command. The Pyramid, as mentioned before, obedience to which was not so long ago enforced through the practice of blood bonding.
Oh, there we go.
The whole command structure has sort of deteriorated a little bit after the Second Inquisition destroyed the clan's headquarters in Vienna, but a lot of chronicles still play it the old-fashioned way. The clan has access to the disciplines Auspex, which is highly sharpened senses, Dominate, which is mind control, and Blood Sorcery, which in older editions was known by the much cooler term Thaumaturgy. Kinda self-explanatory, but also not, because it's a very broad subject matter. This makes them ideal for perceiving magic, doing magic, and also ruling with an iron fist. The Tremere clanbane used to be that they could be very easily bloodbound, aka...
What?
I was just thinking it's funny because I had interest in the two abilities that had that weren't blood magic. I had Specs and Dominate caught my interest for the Tremere.
And that's fine. And you can most disciplines can be learned from other clans. Say you wanted to learn, just as an example, potence from me, a Bruja.
Yeah.
I would give you some of my blood and start teaching it to you, and you could eventually learn it. And that's why they have an out of clan cost. It costs more XP to level up in something out of clan, but you can learn it.
I get you.
The only one that was very hard, which was thaumaturgy. It was very hard to learn. Some storytellers wouldn't even let you learn it unless you were in that specific clan, because it wasn't just a normal discipline. There was more to it. That's why there's a merit in the book where you're naturally attuned to thaumaturgy and can learn a path without a teacher.
Cool.
But it's very expensive. It usually would take almost all of your freebie points to learn it. But I mean, if you want an extra discipline of Thom, in the old days, like I said, when the Tremere were very powerful, still had the Chantry in Vienna and everything, if a Tremere found out you had thaumaturgy and you weren't a member of the Tremere, they would usually try to have you killed. That's our secrets. You're not allowed to have that. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Made obedient to other vampires, but now with the shattering of the pyramid, it's actually become the inverse of that, in that they cannot bloodbind other kindred.
Okay, so that's the difference.
Gives a huge blow to their authoritarian structure. Their particular compulsion is called perfectionism, and it's just this overwhelming need to get this thing just perfectly right, and nothing short of an absolutely stellar performance will set their minds right again. Now, the thing about the Tremere Antediluvian is that he is Saulot, who is also known as the vampire who actually is kind of a good guy. And he had a whole clan of his own, which is now hunted pretty much completely to extinction. But the founder of Clan Tremere was actually Tremere, a very powerful mage who found a ritual to turn himself into a vampire, and then proceeded to diablerize Saulot, which means drinking his heart blood to consume his soul, in order to elevate his own power and legitimize his clan. Now, funny thing is,
Now, there's a whole lore story to that. Everybody loved Salat. He was the founder of Clan Salubri. They're the ones, if you see, had 3 eyes, had a third eye on their forehead.
Yeah.
He was well liked. He was he would be considered like what you would be like a holy type vampire. But they say, legends say, that he turned himself over willingly, that he willingly let them diablerize him. And no one can figure out why. Maybe there was more to it. Maybe he saw something. Maybe, there's a whole lot of, again, depends on who you ask, type stories based on Salat and Tremere. And I even posted memes about the joke about the Tremere drinking a Slurpee, and it didn't have the Slurpee labeled Salat. But yeah, that was another reason why the Tremere were hated, because they basically killed one of the vampires that people loved. They're like, this guy was awesome. Fuck you guys. And they don't consider them, they don't have a true antediluvian. They don't have an origin story like the other vampires. They basically were mages that stole the gift. So a lot of vampires are very butthurt, but they did a lot of atrocities, especially in the Dark Ages, that created a lot of the enmity that still stands today, like the creation of the gargoyles, which I think he does cover, so I won't get into that.
The goal he had was to become vampires without losing access to the magic, which is not what happened at all. They did lose their magic, all of them, big time, which was a problem because that's the one thing that they wanted to have them set apart, which led to the very interesting current situation where the Banu Hakim are going, hang on a second, right there, this is the thing that you do with the magic, that's just our blood magic with the serial numbers filed off. Some notable Tremere include John Dee, who was a historical, actual, real-world figure that existed in the real world, but he, wasn't a vampire, and is the current leader of Ultramere in the British Isles, Aisling Sturbridge, who is very young but nonetheless a very powerful regent of the Chantry of New York, and Sri Sansa, who is notable to me personally because he fucked a lot, and I think that's cool. The passionate and free-spirited...
He didn't talk about the gargoyles, and I'll just briefly go over it. But basically, they wanted to have protectors of their chantries, and they were in the Dark Ages kidnapping clans specifically because of they were looking more for ones that had like transformative abilities. So like Gangrels or Nosferatu, right? And Zemishe. Well, Zemishe were considered a noble clan. And this was a big slight. Zemishe really hate Tremere for this. But they were kidnapping members of those clans, destroying them, and then putting them back together as gargoyles. Whenever a gargoyle is created, they lose all of their memories of their past life. They're like a blank slate.
Gotcha.
So they were basically making slaves.
Yeah.
So a lot of these other clans were like, hey, these motherfuckers were kidnapping our people and doing this shit. So yeah, they committed a lot of atrocities and got away with it. And that's why a lot of clans are like, fuck those assholes.
Makes sense.
That
Clan Bruja, also known as the Zealots or the Learned Clan, represents the classic punk rock archetype of vampire. Once upon a time, some might have called them a patrician clan of the Camarilla as well, but they would have vehemently fought against that definition because they identify with the proletariat, with the oppressed masses yearning for liberation. And the Bruja are right there with them, to challenge authority, to fight the good fight. Bruja don't really have a lot of rules about who they embrace, though it usually tends to be people of oppressed groups, or even more frequently, agents who are trying to change the status quo, usually from like counterculture scenes, or let's say certain groups that would do certain ops in order to achieve certain political goals. So essentially middle-class kids who don't need to hold down 3 jobs to pay the bills and don't have the time to do high-commitment activism. Now, while they are pretty cool, a lot of players like to romanticize them away from the fact that they are just hardcore ideologues who enjoy revolution for the sake of breaking shit. Many don't even believe in anything for the sake of believing it, they just believe in it because it is different than what they perceive to be the status quo.
yeah. Again, it's mostly because it's a sign of the times. In the Dark Ages, they had things to fight, things to do, things. It was like a warrior spirit, noble, heroic. Now they don't have anything to fight, so they just make shit up almost.
Gotcha.
They're angry at everything, and everything is a target. So they just it seems right to them. It's just the way it devolved over time. I mean, if you were to talk to like an elder Bruja that was alive during that time, they'll probably be much more, understanding. But most of the time, you're going to see, ones embraced in more recent times, which are going to be more like the ones he's describing, which are rabble, troublemakers, stuff like that.
As such, you will find a lot
Just
of
because I don't know if I could get away
tankies,
with saying it on.
Nazis.
Since I don't know if I can say this on Twitch, I'm going to send you a quick message.
Oh, okay. Oh, you can say that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a liberal
power.
with power. I'll say it because I'm rated that plus anyways.
Better.
But I'm rated 18 plus. Fuck him. Yeah, it's basically, and that's what he was leaning towards when he was saying it. Those kind of causes. It doesn't have to be. It could be any cause. But they like to rally against the ruling class, of any kind of ruling class. Which is why, even though, yes, they were one of the founders of the Camarilla, this was during a time of like nobles and heroes and stuff. In modern nights, those same people would be like, no, we didn't help found that. Why would we do that? Because we fight against the elite. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just a sign of the times.
Khmer Rouge enthusiasts, and people who post about politics on Twitter among the ranks of the Brujah. They're also well known for giving
what I just
little
said.
to no guidance to their
Oh,
child.
I'm sorry.
Very often they don't even
What?
With what he said about Twitter, is like, oh, that checks with what I just said.
Yeah, basically.
know who their sire is or what even is going on with them, and so they die pretty quickly. Because of course helping a youngling navigate the complex intricacies of the knight and vampiric society is a huge responsibility, and Brujah will avoid that kind of thing like the plague. Frankly, I respect that. The clan
Yeah, Brujah hate making childer, and if they do, they don't pay a lot of attention to them. Like, you're on your own. Take your swim, motherfucker. That's why they're like, Brujah don't survive very long. I specifically because of that, I took a flaw, Infernal Vitae. It's an expensive flaw. You can't embrace your blood is not potent enough to embrace another vampire. All right, that's fine. I wasn't going to raise them anyway.
access to the disciplines celerity, which is super speed, potence, which is super strength, and presence, which is alluring charisma, making them very intuitively well-rounded. Their powers are not some weird stuff, they're just human abilities driven to a great extreme. All of this also makes them extremely dangerous opponents in combat. The Brujah clan bane is their violent temper. They just have a big problem keeping the unbridled rage of their inner beast at bay. They are much more likely to frenzy than any other clan. In terms of compulsion, they feel strongly drawn to rebellion, needing to piss in the face of the person that they perceive to be in charge, or in some other way transgress against...
I should also keep in mind, like, you're listening to this, the prince of our area is a Brujah.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind, like, when you're hearing, like, they're very prone to frenzy, they like to rebel, like, that's our boss.
What would be the orderly way of doing things in this situation. The Brujah antediluvian was Troil the Elder, an extremely calm and dispassionate guy who got diablerized by his child, Troil the Younger, whose unbridled burning passion then became the bane of their clan as punishment for their transgression against their sire. Some notable Brujah include Theo Bell, who is kind of responsible for them officially leaving the Camarilla and
I told you about him.
aligning themselves with the Anarch movement now. Smiling Jack Drake, a pirate in life from that golden age of piracy who later became...
He is one of my favorite characters in all of the World of Darkness, and he plays a very large role in the Bloodlines 1 video game. He is absolutely hilarious. He's the guy like all the Anarchs respect. And yeah, he was a pirate when he was embraced. He's that fucking guy.
Nice.
I freaking love him. And if you ever get a chance to play the game, he's fucking hilarious too.
Became a very influential figure in the Californian Anarch Free State, and Tyler, who was one of the primary leaders of the Anarch Revolt. The enigmatic and mutated clan Nosferatu, also known as the Sewer Rats or the Clan of the Hidden, represents the hideously misshapen Count Orlok type vampire. Now, even though you will definitely recognize a Nosferatu as being a Nosferatu when you see one, they are nonetheless masters of espionage, and you should always assume that there is a Nosferatu in the room with you right now. Even though they look down...
Yes, that is a key that I cannot stress enough, and I have told many people in games. It's safer to just assume, no matter how secure the location, that somehow a Nosferatu is there. That is what they do. They are that. What the thing is, their presence, just them existing because of their appearance, is a breach of the masquerade. If they were to be seen, it would be considered a breach of the masquerade. So you would assume that the Camarilla would just have them all exterminated. Well, the reason they don't is because they're so good at what they do. Because the Camarilla needs their secrets, they need what they are able to do. So it's one of those, we kind of turn a blind eye to them because we need them.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? They have a thing called ShrekNet, which is the modern knights now, like kind of like a vampire secrets thing on the web. When we watched that previous video, if you noticed in the corner, it said brought to you by ShrekNet.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Nosferatu are in charge of like the internet security for that. There's a story which is a good story, a good example. In the Bloodlines 1 game, there's a Nosferatu named Mitnick, and he explains his backstory that he was a hacker and he found this secret like thing, and he spent forever trying to break it, and he managed to break in, and it was ShrekNet. Instead of killing him for finding their secrets, the Nosferatu embraced him and said, now you're one of the people in charge of keeping it safe.
That doesn't surprise me. I feel like
So that's one of the examples. A lot of times, though, Nosferatu like to embrace as like a kind of ironic justice. They like to find people who are very pretty or beautiful or full of themselves and embrace them so they become ugly as a form of like ironic justice. Like, not so pretty anymore, huh, fucker?
so. The hope is to get spotted by a Toreador rather than a Nosferatu.
Yeah. Nosferatu, like, they love ironic justice. They love, oh, I was beautiful once. I remember that. Guess what? How about we bring you down a few pegs? There's one of those stories in that, too. A character named Amalia was a supermodel, and now she's a hideous monster Nosferatu. And she's very, very angry about it.
Understandable.
So, yeah, the Nosferatu, again, they when I say that they're good at finding secrets, I can't like underline how good they are at getting secrets. If they're not there personally and you're unable to see them, they have a camera or a microphone or something that you haven't found yet. That's how good they are, and that's why the Camarilla hasn't like exterminated them outright, because damn, they're useful.
And I assume anybody that tries
Down
to
upon by polite vampire
sorry, hold on.
society, their abilities are nonetheless highly.
Okay, sorry.
No worries. I was just going to say, I'm assuming anybody that would try to eliminate them would have all of their dirty laundry put out first.
Oh yeah, there's that too. There's that risk. Like, you piss off the Nosferatu, there's a chance that some of your dirty dealings might come out, and they're not afraid to use it.
Yep.
By the Camarilla. The Nosferatu embrace from two groups of people who could not be more distinct. On one hand, you have extreme social outcasts, such as homeless people or drug addicts. But they also, much like the Toreador, like to embrace exceptionally beautiful people. Unlike the Toreador, they do this as a punishment for their arrogance and cruelty to the people who are less privileged than them. So becoming a Nosferatu of all the kindred world is probably the first choice of few people. Their status as outcasts does give them a sort of increased cohesion within the clan, and they tend to be actually rather kind to each other. In their parallel society of the vast, sprawling underworlds of every city in the world, clan counts for more than sect. So you have cordial relations between Nosferatu of the Camarilla, the Sabbat, and Anarchs. The clan has access to the disciplines Animalism, which is control over animals, Obfuscate, which allows them to become undetectable, and Potence, which is super strength, making them not only perfect spy masters, but also dangerous ambush predators. The Nosferatu clan bane is that they're ugly as shit. That's it. That is the bane. Right, okay, so the reason...
I mean, yeah, it's one of the most obvious And
Yep.
that's it. They're ugly as fuck. But yeah, most Nosferatu will make their havens in like sewers or caverns. Oftentimes they'll group together just because there's safety in numbers. Most games they'll warn you not to go. If you're not invited, don't go to the Nosferatu like warrens or base wherever they're hiding, because there's often traps and all kinds of shit. And like he said, ambush predators.
Yeah.
They can walk around and obfuscate, and if you're not supposed to be there, imagine somebody right up on you with super strength. Okay, that's why Nosferatu are dangerous and scary. Um, you come up in their home, they're all living together, and you're not supposed to be there. There's a good chance that like several will jump out and friggin' attack you. And they do a good job of that feeling. Again, I keep bringing up Bloodlines 1 because it's such a great example. You do go to the Nosferatu Warrens as part of the game, and while you're in there, you'll constantly hear whispers like they're right next to you, especially if like you're wearing a headset with surround sound,
Mhm.
because they're in obfuscate. They're there watching you. You don't see them, but they're there. Like, what is he doing here? What's he, why is he here? Blah, 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 blah. You don't see them, but they're all around you, and they're ready to jump at a moment's notice should the command be given. But they already expected you. They already knew you were coming before you get there. So, yeah, it's a really good example, and it's a creepy vibe when you're in the Nosferatu Warrens and you don't see anyone, but you're hearing all these whispers like they're right next to you.
The reason this is the case is because when they turn into vampires, they undergo a transformation, extremely painful, by the way, that completely changes the way that they look. And many of them even end up being unable to exist even as a vampire, because that is how far they have mutated. Some are even more hideous than the average Nosferatu. A very small select group is not quite as disgusting, but any Nosferatu, the second you see them, you will immediately know this is not a human, but some form of horrible monster, making it rather difficult for them to uphold the masquerade. The clan compulsion is cryptophilia, which is
I want to clarify something. That's not necessarily true. In most cases, yes, you will recognize a Nosferatu right off the bat. But many Nosferatu, at least from my experience, with Obfuscate being one of their in-clan disciplines, there's a level called Mask of 1,000 Faces. Once you put it on, once you use that ability, you can look however you wish. And many of them use it to operate in human society or to go to Elysium. That's one of the few disciplines usually the Keeper and the Prince will like turn a blind eye to, because it's not meant in hostility. It's just so that they're not walking around as an ugly fucker.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I know in the Bloodlines game, the Mask of 1,000 does not exist. There's just different levels of being invisible, basically. But most games, a lot of Nosferatu will use that. They'll try to get Mask of 1,000 as quickly as possible because it makes doing things a lot easier, especially feeding. So, if you see a Nosferatu and they're not ugly, if they say, "Hey, I'm a Nosferatu," they're probably using Mask of 1,000. That's the only way they're not ugly as fuck.
Yeah.
An intense need to know secret information that very few people are privy to. This is probably also one of the driving forces behind why they seem to know everything. The Nosferatu antediluvian is Absimiliad, a massive asshole psychopath piece of shit who was also incredibly handsome, and as such was punished for his appearance to reflect the appearance of his soul. He hates all his spawn and seeks to exterminate them, but of course, with the Nosferatu being a Camarilla clan, they mostly don't even know he exists. Some prominent Nosferatu include Zelios, a genius architect and stonecutter who constructs elaborate labyrinths for reasons that only he quite understands. Baba Yaga, who is believed by some to be the progenitor of all modern members of the clan because she was the only one of Absimilian's childer who ended up procreating. And Calebros, who for a while was the Camarilla Prince of New York City. The wild and independent Clan Gangrel, also known as the Outlanders or the Clan of the Beast, is the archetypal country vampire that lives in the wilderness and is really more animal than person. Vampires are generally city people. They prefer to not be in the wilderness, where there is little in the way of consistent shelter and a lot in the way of dangerous shit. This is not true for the Gangrel, who even when they are in cities prefer to stick to the parks and outskirts. They also like to travel a lot, and they are the only clan that is even somewhat respected by the werewolves. They prefer to embrace people who
I want to clarify that the werewolves semi-tolerate them.
Yeah.
Though most of the time it's still kill on sight.
Gotcha.
But if you have to meet with them, it's usually better to have a gangrel because they're more comfortable with the gangrel than anyone else.
Yeah.
But they sense taint evil on like all vampires because we're an undead thing that should not exist. So yeah, werewolves are still known by most vampires as furry balls of hate. That's been like one of our most common like terms for them. Usually, if you can catch a werewolf and you have like a whole group and one werewolf, you might be able to take them down by numbers. They're usually a pain in the ass. In the games I've played, like I said, we were all freewheeling cheesy motherfuckers. It was a lot different for us. And I got to remember a lot of times werewolves were meant to be scary to vampires, but in our games, we dropped werewolves like they were nothing. So yeah, I'm a little jaded by years of being uber cheesy.
Makes sense.
But yeah, werewolves are supposed to be like run away, be scared. And they do that really well. Again, like I said, in Bloodlines, there is a werewolf encounter. And there's no killing the werewolf. There's only surviving. There's a clock timer, and you just have to survive basically until that clock runs out. Because there's no killing that werewolf. Well, there is, but it's a hidden trick, and it took me years before I found out about it. Basically, you have to bait it through a door and hit the door close at just the right time so it closes on the werewolf coming through it. I was like, that existed? I hadn't known that for years. These motherfuckers.
who are unafraid and have a will to survive. This often happens like pretty spur of the moment when a victim vehemently resists feeding, which is actually difficult because getting fed on by a vampire apparently feels very, very nice. But they will also sometimes pick out people that they notice are unafraid of moving through the wilderness at night, and so they will stalk and observe them, sometimes over a period of several months, before embracing them if they find them worthy. Very few gangrel will ask you if you want to become a vampire, and actually if you are a gangrel and you had the choice of becoming a vampire and took it, people are gonna look down on you in the clan. That's kind of something that they think is weak. The clan has access to the disciplines animalism, which gives them control over animals, fortitude, which is supernatural toughness, and protean, which gives them the ability to gain animal features or even transform fully into animals. The gangrel clan bane is that they gain bestial features when they frenzy, so this might be like bat ears that then appear, or they have like a strong dog stench. It used to be they would then have this feature forever, but they changed this in Vampire 5 because I guess they realized that if you have a frenzy once, like early on in the game, which will most definitely happen to you at some point, and you have a little bit of bad luck, you become just a walking masquerade violation.
That is very, very true.
Makes sense.
I played a gangrel that had that happen almost on like night one. I frenzied, and the storyteller was like laughing maniacally and gave me tusks. and I had to roleplay filing them down every night.
Wonderful.
Just so that I could walk around outside. I had to file down massive fucking tusks every fucking night. I was like, I hate you so much. I mean, it could be worse. Like, if you had bat ears or stuff like that, you got to cut the bitches off or something. They gave one person hairy palms, which I was like, what the fuck? But yeah, there's... and that's just one frenzy. You have to gangrel anytime you frenzy. You just add another one, add another one, add another one. A lot of storytellers though would go that like if you went a certain amount of time, eventually they would fade. Only because it made sense, because it's a permanent thing, and no other clan really has a permanent disability trait. So it was usually like a house rule. It wasn't in the book. It was like usually a storyteller, but like just to make it fair, what they did in version 5 was what they were already doing, which was eventually it'll fade away.
Without the benefit of having obfuscate as a clan discipline like the Nosferatu do. So now those features go away after a while. The clan compulsion is feral impulses, which every once in a while will really drive the gangrel to resolve a dispute through violence, the purest actual form of showing who is strongest and fittest and best to survive, and not this words bullshit, because they have a pretty hard time talking. The gangrel antediluvian is Enoya, and it's very difficult to ascertain any information about her because all the lore about Enoya is passed through gangrel lines via oral storytelling, and so there's a million different versions of Enoya. She may have been raised by wolves. That's one.
There's even a tale about the beginning of the gangrel line in the Ravno clan book. I actually like the story. It was from the older edition, but it was, long story short, she was the significant other of Ravno. Ravno was supposedly favored by Cain. Cain found him a good person. She betrayed him, so the progenitor of the Ravno clan was killed because he was betrayed by this girl. So Cain cursed her, and that's why she became a wolf. So, like I said, again, tales depend on who tells them.
Yeah.
Thing that may have happened. Some notable gangrel include Cuthbert Beckett, a very notable scholar and archaeologist looking into the truth.
This character, Beckett, is a big NPC in the Bloodline 1 character game. He's a very cool character. He is in the clan novels. So it is very cool to see someone like in the game that you can actually interact with and talk with. Like if you're familiar, think of playing like I don't know, Warhammer game and meeting someone of like big importance in all the books, and you're like, holy shit, I get to actually talk with this person, you know?
Cool.
I'm not sure if you're there.
Can you hear me? Is my mic on?
Oh, I can hear you now.
I said that's cool. Sorry, I don't know if it just wasn't catching my voice or what.
I don't know. Yeah, I didn't hear you, so I was like, are you there?
Sorry about that.
Yeah, Beckett is a scholar in World of Darkness lore. That's all he does is search for vampiric lore, all the old stories, all the anything that can find like the origins of vampires. He's kind of briefly going over it, but Beckett is considered in vampire circles as like the foremost scholar in all vampiric lore.
True origins of vampire kind. Odin the All-High, who is, yes, indeed, that particular Odin, though he isn't originally Scandinavian, he just ended up there. And Xavier, who was a very powerful Justicar of the Camarilla, before officially declaring that his clan was now going to leave the Camarilla and joined the Anarch movement. The ethereal and neurotic clan Malkavian, also known as the Cassandras or the Clan of the Moon, represents the sort of telepathic, psychic type vampire, though they do still drink blood. The Malkavians are a funny little group because they have changed a lot over the years of the game's existence. They used to be just straight up crazy people. There was sometimes an attempt at doing a serious exploration of mental health, but of course, as the topic in general has moved more into the space of public acceptance, it's become a bit more labor intensive to actually deal with it properly. And personally, I think Vampire the Masquerade does a very good job with that. Basically, they're all in...
I want to say something because I brought up the Bloodlines game a lot, and again, the reason I bring it up so much is it's really good way to learn a lot of the lore and how to play the game, because it puts the feel. It's a lot different being told what the feel is, but if you're in the game, it's very immersive, and it helps you learn a lot more. It's almost like learning by doing.
Yeah.
And for Malkavian, I don't recommend a Malkavian for a first-time playthrough, but it is one of the most fun playthroughs because you are forced to be that crazy. You have your derangement. So a lot of the words are jumbled. You'll hear things. There's different scenes only Malkavians get because of their insanity. One of my favorite scenes is you actually have an argument with the newscaster on the television. It's really for Malkavians, they force you to play your derangement, and you are in it the entire game. And even some of the things you're supposed to be the one saying are hard to understand. Like, what the fuck am I saying? Okay?
Yeah.
In tune with this psychic network that they all share, and through which they have a very loose telepathic connection to each other. But of course, every node in that network has their own little particular idiosyncrasies that distorts the view of the whole. They're an extremely diverse clan in whom they embrace, because it tends to be mental oddballs, and there's a lot of different ways in which you can be a mental oddball, but there does seem to be a certain, not preference, but just a statistically higher likelihood of them embracing intellectuals, because they tend to be celebrated more for their oddballness, and so hide it less. The clan has access to the disciplines Auspex, which is highly sharpened senses, Dominate, which is mind control, and Obfuscate, which allows them to become undetectable. They used to have a discipline called Dementation, which is now an amalgam power of
If they weren't
Dominate and
insane,
Obfuscate, which once
I
again
think
I'm
I'd like
not
those powers the
particularly
most.
happy with.
Huh?
If they weren't insane, I think I'd probably like those powers the most out of the
Well,
options.
it's different. We're doing the 20th version. I think it's Dominate is replaced. They wouldn't have Dominate. They would have their own clan discipline, which is called Dementation, which he was just talking about, which is the ability to make others insane. But there's like lower levels of it. Like one is called like Eyes of Chaos. It allows you to see the pattern in randomness. It basically gives you like a free retest or an ability to roll again because you saw the patterns.
Hmm.
You get what I'm saying? It's almost like seeing the future
Yeah.
to make things work a little bit better in your favor. Malkavians have that benefit, and one of the things, actually, a few of the things that make Malkavians scary is they're known as prophets, and the reason that a lot of princes will keep Malkavians around is because of their prophetic visions. Dementation is scary. No one wants to get hit with a random derangement, or their highest level one, I think, is called Total Insanity, which is like, well, I don't want to say highest. Most people only get to the 5th level. And at least in the LARP rules was that if they hit you with that and you fail, you get 5 derangements at random for the rest of the night. That's how fucked up it is. That is one of their scariest powers. Is they just made you total nutbag. You're basically almost unplayable for the rest of the night. Um, Obviously, you can see the scariness of that. It can cause you to do a lot of social faux pas, get yourself in trouble with the sheriff. They could fuck you up hard. And another thing is people are afraid to diablerize a Malkavian, because if you diablerize a Malkavian, even if they're lower generation, yeah, you might become more powerful blood-wise, but you also take in their derangement and it becomes a permanent part of you. So that's another thing that makes Malkavian scary, is and kind of keeps them safe from diablerie, is that people are like, I don't want, there's some things you shouldn't put in your mouth, and Malkavians are one of them. That was one of our like running jokes, is like, yeah, we don't eat crazy.
But basically what it does is it makes other people go crazy. The Malkavian clan bane is their fractured perspective. They all have some wild and often destructive mental health disorder that they had a sort of predilection for during their life, even if there it never manifested. And no amount of therapy can help them with it. The clan compulsion is their propensity for delusion, because though they are connected through this magical, powerful network that can give them very meaningful visions of things that might happen in the future and things that are happening right now, they also can just as likely receive just complete bullshit streams of thought that will deeply upset their frame of mind. Trust me, I have quite a few schizophrenia symptoms myself. I know what I'm talking about.
Another fun thing, I just thought you might, it is just a side story you might get a kick out of. I played a character, a Malkavian named Mojo. That was all he was known as. Nobody knew his real name, his last name, anything like that. But when I wrote my backstory, it was almost 10 pages long. It was really long. But the whole thing was, it was all gibberish. It was just random, like, it was words, but none of them really made sense or were random phrases. And when the storyteller learned how to read it, he was laughing his ass off. He gave me bonus points because he loved it. Was you had to read the first letter in every line to read the story. Yeah, derangements manifest in different ways. So it's almost like not all Malkavians are the same flavor.
The Malkavian antediluvian is called Malkav, and some people think that he is physically, or rather non-physically, the actual telepathic network that connects all Malkavians. As such, even though Eric Hammer...
Just because he brought it up, there is a legend in Malkavians that Malkav, the first Malkavian, somehow diablerized himself. Again, depends on who you ask, but that's how Malkavians understand it, is that Malkav somehow ate himself and became the madness network that links all Malkavians. Wild, right?
Yeah.
Marilla clan, the Malkavians are not as religious in their denial of their antediluvian, but then they are Malkavians, so nobody listens to them anyway, and the Camarilla doesn't really care. Some notable Malkavians include Anatole, who has, for the past couple centuries, been predicting the end of the world, and it turns out that he actually is correct. Therese Vorman, who is the Anarch Baron of Santa Monica, and who appeared in the video game Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. And none other than Aleister Crowley himself, who, believe it or not, is also the sire of Jekyll and Hyde. The ruthless and Darwinistic clan La Sombra, also known as the Keepers, or the Night Clan, represent the archetypal type of vampire that is a shadow being. I don't know that that's a thing that exists, but it is cool, and it fits thematically. A good way of describing the La Sombra is that they're the Ventru of the Sabbat. They are extremely capable of constructing and navigating complex social structures, so they run the administrative and down-to-earth side of the anti-Camarilla sect. And they are very selective in their embraces. You have to be a perfect match for what your sire is looking for, and they will then completely and utterly annihilate your livelihood over the course of years in order to test the unbreakability of your drive and willpower. If at the end of all that, you're still focused, grinding, trying to secure the bag, they will reveal themselves to you. Interestingly, a lot of La Sombra are sailors. They're for some reason very closely associated with the sea, which I don't know how that fits, but I like it. And also the Catholic Church and religious institutions in general, but specifically the Catholic Church, the La Sombra are deeply embedded in. And
He's speaking about the church. Funny small story. When my children were young and we were avoiding saying foul words in front of them just because we didn't want them to repeat them.
Yeah.
A friend of mine played a La Sombra that he named Father Fletcher. He was a Catholic priest. So when I stubbed my toe in front of my daughter, the first word that came to mind was his character's name. I was like, Father Fletcher instead of motherfucker. And when I told him that story, he was so proud to have been used as a profanity.
Great. I was thinking
this
they
is just
were.
another
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Go ahead.
I was thinking they were like the equivalent of the Tremere at first.
No, they're basically the dark version. In the Dark Ages, they considered them rivals with the Ventru clan. They were both considered high clans, nobility, clans of royalty. So, of course, you know, when they split into sects, one went one way and one went the other way. Like, we'll lead over here, you lead over there type thing. Like, without saying that, that's not what they said or were a specific intent, but it makes sense that these two, which would butt heads, it's almost like there's only enough room for one of us. In recent times, though, that has changed. A lot of La Sombra have gone to the Camarilla. I cannot remember the lore on that. There's just so much. That's more of a more modern thing. I know a lot of the older lore a lot better.
Okay.
the way in which they're sort of like an evil counterpart of the Ventru, even though, I mean, the Ventru are already kind of fucking evil, in that they will use anything to climb the social order. The clan has access to the disciplines Dominate, which is mind control, Oblivion, which used to be called Obtenebration, and was their ability to control the shadows, and you'll understand later why I'm so very angry about this.
Well, yeah. Again, we're playing the 20th, so it is the Obtenebration, which is control of shadows. Their most common use of that is making what's called Arms of the Abyss, which are basically black tentacles made of shadow. It is a scary, fucked up power and a pain in the ass to deal with. I have a feeling. The reason I bring that up is a lot of Camarilla games.
Boom, baby.
Hey, what's up?
What's going on? I'm not going to stream. I'm exhausted from streaming, but I'll hang out with you guys.
No problem. I was just saying, in a lot of Camarilla games, eventually things will devolve into where you have to deal with Sabbat.
Yes, and generally,
Not all.
yeah, not all, but generally, it's due to I don't mean bad, but weak storytelling. Because generally, like a weak storyteller can tell a good story, they just don't know how to corral the players.
Mm-hmm.
But that LARP's a bigger beast, so to speak,
Yeah.
than tabletop.
Well, Sabbat are an easy group to point and say kill.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They're rivals. There's no getting along with the Camarilla, basically. They're always at odds fighting for cities and control. So if you're fighting Sabbat, there's a good chance you'll meet at least a Zamiche or a La Sombra at one point.
Yeah, they're like staples. If you don't run into one, then it's like, are you really fighting a Sabbat member?
Right.
And then, so, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, usually also what happens is, so when you start a new game of like a LARP specifically, because I think Bones was talking about LARP, it's Camarilla against Camarilla, then they'll introduce Sabbat as Boogeyman, and then it'll be Sabbat versus Camarilla, and whoever comes out on top. And then in all the bad games I've played, and after that, they introduce Bali, which are Infernalists. And then it's like Sabbat or Camarilla versus Bali. And then they just keep piling on after that. If they defeat all the Bali, then it's like, oh, now the werewolves come in, or now the hunters come in, or whatever.
Right.
It's a never-ending cycle. But
usually, I never got to that point in like big LARPs. There was always too much going on, and a lot of it came down to like player-created plot. So many people were so busy trying to fuck each other over. There was more than enough.
Oh yeah. There's always plenty to do. Anyways, yeah, you're going.
Yeah, and I covered Infernalist only very briefly, just because, just basically you don't ever want to be accused of being one.
No, but basically, it's very similar to how like people get accused of being like Moloch worshippers because of the Epstein shit.
Yeah. Even the Sabbat are like fucking Infernalists. So
yeah.
Which is super strength. The Clan Bane is actually something very classic in that they don't cast proper reflection.
I'm gonna get some water. I'll be right back, guys.
Yeah.
Digital cameras. Though you probably will be able to identify them as themselves, the whole thing is going to be just busy with like shadowy artifacts and transparency issues, to the point where if you're unlucky, it might even be a masquerade violation. This has led to the ironic situation that the clan, which utterly despises the idea of humans having any sort of position or value within vampire society, are dependent on them for just basic things like telling them how they look and having them pick out good outfits. The common compulsion that their beast drives them to is ruthlessness. They need to win. They need to achieve this goal, and they will do anything, sacrifice anyone to achieve that. Failure is not an option. The La Sombra Antediluvian went by many names, so people just tend to call him La Sombra. Now, the funny thing about La Sombra is that even though the Bruja would really like to claim this honor for themselves, they are actually the ones who kicked off the Anarch Revolt by diablerizing their Antediluvian. He was the first Antediluvian diablerized after the destruction of the first city, which is like so far in the past that the overwhelming majority of people don't even know that that was a thing. And he was diablerized by the youngest of his childer, Gratiano de Veronese. Some notable Sabbat include Lucita de Aragon, who was a Spanish princess and later became a very, very powerful archbishop of Sabbat. Zadkiel ben Aron, one of the absolute grandmasters of obtenebration, and Giangaleazzo Visconti, who, this is Vampire the Masquerade story. Basically, this guy, he got bored with the Sabbat because it's a very violent and direct kind of place. So what he did is he took all the Sabbat hardliners in his city, Milan, and he switched from Sabbat Archbishop to being a Camarilla Prince by just killing all of them. And the reason for this is that he found the intrigue and complicated politics of the Camarilla more interesting. The stately...
I love that story. I didn't want to interrupt. Hi, Zelda. I see you came again. Please make sure you clean up the floor. They're already sticky.
Right.
Yeah, we Mags, we already watched that new hire video. I made that the first one.
That's such a good one. I wish we would have found that first, especially for like Wiz and them.
Yeah. I played it for him so that he could see it, and I did do the explanations of a lot of things that were left vague. You know, if I'll use my ew. All right, Zimiche, one of my favorite clans. I got to be honest. I mean, Samedi are my all-time favorite, but Zimiche are still fun.
And indifferent Clan Samizi, also known as the Fiends or the Old Clan, represents the classic Eastern European Dracula-style vampire, with a bit of a twist. Probably the most inhuman of all the clans. They don't even hate, like, regular living mortal people anymore. They just torture and deform them for pleasure.
Because they're bored.
The analogy, the Samizi are sort of the Toreador of the Sabbat. The great philosophers of sadism, who are solely focused on the question of what it means to be vampire. Because they don't really care about humans all that much, they tend to embrace absolutely massively exceptional people who just happen to strike their fancy at that particular moment. In order to maximize the potential of kindred, because that's all that humans are to them, is just like little seeds that maybe or maybe not could have potential in some way to actually build something worthwhile out of. They have instituted centuries-long breeding programs to get the traits that they find most interesting. Yeah, this is how bad they are. And to be clear,
Oh, you want to pause that real quick?
eugenics is one of the least of their crimes.
So if
Yeah.
you guys were able to like stop in today for Dax's stream, I told Dax a very big thing that he was like, oh, okay. And I was like, I don't think you realize how big that is, which is his sire was a revenant prior to her becoming embraced, and she was part of the revenant family of the Brostovich.
Yay! The Brotovich.
Yeah. And he was like, is that important? I'm like, it will be. Because she's not part of that family anymore, and not because they let her go.
Oops.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, sorry. I know. I thought Bones would get a kick out of that.
I do. I like the Brotovich. But yeah, Ty, like he was explaining, eugenics is the least of their crimes. Like they have very little thought towards humans, but they know to make more Zemitze, they need humans. So they've had like breeding programs and bred humans to be what they want them to be. Kind of like how we bred wolves into dogs. So yeah, they're bad. They'll experiment. Like one of my things that used to creep people out when I played as a Miche, whenever people like other vampires would talk about humans, I would say, well, parts are parts. That's how I saw them.
Checks out.
Being a very traditional clan that cares a lot about their own history, the Tzimisce
Hey, Cap, thank you for coming.
very, very polite
Again.
and hold especially the laws of hospitality in almost religious regard. This is, of course, primarily because they are complete sociopaths who are fully on the orange and blue morality spectrum.
Oh, yeah.
These kinds of very strict rules are the only thing that keeps them together.
You come all the time whether I let you to.
Disciplines animalism, which is control over animals,
Yeah.
dominate, which is mind control, and protean, which in their case is the ability to shape flesh. In a time where disciplines were not
This was different. Again, in 20th, it would be different. They would have vicissitude instead of protean.
These are the dark ages before the infection of vicissitude, and I say infection because the common belief is that it's like a disease.
Yeah, a lot would consider the vicissitude discipline to actually be a disease that infected the blood.
Yeah, just to give you context.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure we're going with vicissitude for the 20th, so they wouldn't have the Tzimisce wouldn't have protean.
They also don't have dominate.
Yeah, they don't have dominate anymore.
Yeah,
I would say if somebody told me specifically that they would want to play this Tzimisce brief before vicissitude, I'd let them, but they wouldn't be old clans Tzimisce. I'd be like, you've been in Tordor. I'm sorry, Tordor. You've been inside one. You've been in Torpor for like a couple of centuries. That's why you're kind of like out of sync.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think only the Brotovich had animalism. They had animalism, potence, and vicissitude for the Brotovich Revenant family, if you were embraced from that family, like I said. But standard Tzimisce were different from like Revenant family. Again, like a bloodline and offshoot of the head clan.
Design efficiency to death, this was called vicissitude, and it's the main standout ability of their clan, that they will physically change themselves and others, usually more others in more horrendous ways, but they also change themselves to be whatever they want to be, often going very far away from the human form, and this is now an amalgam power of Dominate and Proteus. The Clan Bane is called Grounded, and it used to be that they needed to sleep surrounded by their own grave soil, but in V5 they changed this into something that I personally think is a lot cooler.
I disagree,
Now
but
they need to sleep surrounded by something that is ironically a very core aspect of like their mortal identity that they used to have, like their particular castle or maybe their ethnic group. Could still be grave soil, by the way.
If you want to pause it real quick,
That Tsumitsu
Yeah.
don't really track.
I don't think that's entirely bad, but I would preference that as it has to be something from your homeland specifically. So, for example, like let's say you had like an old Tsumitsu like family crest that came from the castle or something. I'd be like, yeah, that's cool. That makes sense. Yeah, it ties back to the old blood. I'll be fine with that. But just
It's like-
anything that like no importance, if that makes any sense.
I always liked the home soil thing, and when I played as Amiche, I spent a lot of time procuring and keeping, like, stored away for a rainy day, like extra soil. And I even had learned, I believe it was the Sabat Thom path, just so I could get the. There was a ritual for made by the Zamiche called Recure the Homeland.
Mm-hmm.
Which you could make a paste with a mix of your blood and the soil of your homeland that could help heal wounds, like even aggravated damage, which is normally very hard to heal.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, yeah, I always like that aspect of the Zamiche. I'm just making sure Ty's still there because he's
I
quiet.
am. I was
Okay.
just listening.
Travel all that much. It's a bit of a logistical challenge. The clan compulsion is covetousness, which is also a classic vampire thing to do, where they like see something that they really, really, really want for themselves, and they will go to great lengths to get it. The Tsumitsu Antediluvian is known as the eldest, and though as members of the Sabbat, of course, they are rather happy that this creature is no more, they do share its vision and even respect it, sort of, for going all the way into a direction of complete and utter inhumanity. A common saying among the Tsumitsu is that instead of having a beast and a remnant mortal soul inside of it, the eldest just had two beasts. Some notable Sabbat include Sasha.
Oh, I have some
has turned
lore on that.
complete-
Of what?
The reason why the eldest had apparently two beasts inside of it.
Oh, okay.
It's because Zaulot basically removed the beast from himself and put his beast inside of Tzimisce after consuming its soul.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's because Zaulot is the one character that's a complete Mary Sue, but it's actually pretty cool. Except you kind of get sick about hearing about him because they've done a lot of fucked up, amazing shit. But it's kind of like, dude, can we stop?
But people really liked him. He was really nice, and that's why people hate the Tremere.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's like the deep lore for Ty.
I played a deep lore Tzimisce. Like my driving goal for my Tzimisce was finding the long lost Cathedral of Flesh.
Ooh.
And that was like my driving purpose. I was dropping like influence drops and everything in a search for this long lost. Like it was for Ty. Imagine a giant religious cathedral made of human flesh and bone. And it's considered a long lost artifact or temple of the Tzimisce. No one knows where it is now. So
completely androgynous and is a very radical member of the Sabbat, known as their chief torturer, Radu Bistri, who used to be the Prince of Bistritz and is now a high-ranking member of the Sabbat, himself originating in one of those breeding programs. And of course, yes, the Count Dracula, who actually is a master of Koldunic sorcery, which is an even older form of magic that the Tzimisce had access to before they adopted vicissitude. It's basically like an Avatar The Last Airbender style spirits of the land element bending. The young and self-interested clan Hekata...
Right.
okay, I'm going to skip over Hekata because they're not going to be relevant in
Yeah, they're
the
not going to
system.
pop up at all. They're not going to pop up at all. Not even conceptually.
They were brought in. Forget it. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not important.
Not important. Not important.
Cappadocias at all. The clandestine and isolated clan Banu Hakim, also known as the Assamites or the Clan of the Hunt, represents the archetypal Orient type vampire that is like from the Orient. That's like a thing. I mean, yeah, technically all vampire clans are from the Middle East because that was where the first city was located. I have a personal fascination with the Banu Hakim. I love them very much, and they are sort of modeled after the historical assassins, down to the idea that they lived in like a isolated mountain fortress called Alamut. And though they do kill people for money, their main intended role in vampire society is as a sort of law enforcement. This is also one of the main groups that they like to embrace from, specifically investigators, because they have this drive to hunt down, if you will, the truth, and a propensity for self-sacrifice for a higher cause. They also like to get learned people, scholars on board if they prove that they have a lot of dedication to what they do over like an extended observation period. They also kinda used to like not embrace women. After Banu Hakim has been embraced, they are subjected to a rigorous 7-year training program followed by another 7 years of indenture to their master, and if they fail any of the test or if they show any amount of disobedience, their master straight up just kills them, probably involving
All right, you get that, Ty?
Yeah.
Unlike most vampires, like where like they talked about the accounting, Assamites are very strict. They embrace you and then send you to the mountain for 7 years of training. And then you have 7 years after that under your master. And if at any point you fuck up, they'll just end you right there because you weren't worthy.
Or question them. Question your master's teaching.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually it's in like a defiant way, not in a like, oh master, why do we drink blood? They'll be like, because you're a vampire. Like, oh, okay.
Makes sense.
But if it's like, master, no, I don't want to kill this person. It's like, well, then your soul is a weakness to you.
Right. So yeah, that's what Assamites are a little bit different. There was a long-standing legend, like in our games, that like if you could kill, they spread this around in our games just to fuck with new players. Like if you could kill an Assamite and send them back to the mountain from whence they came, if you knew where it was, that you were immune from any assassin contracts from them.
Oh, I remember that shit. Yeah.
I love telling that to new people and like, oh, that sounds awesome. Like, have fun.
And then go and try to like track them down, only to get killed.
Yeah.
Diablerie too, which is one of the reasons why the Banu Hakim have had a fairly strained relationship with the Camarilla.
Oh, I can't hear now.
Trial?
What just happened?
I don't know. I think Bones. Bones, did he crash?
An audio hiccup.
Oh, okay.
It was just that's why I paused it. I just paused it for a moment to let the audio come back on.
Gotcha.
I don't know why it's been happening, but it just happens for like a moment, so I didn't flip out.
At times, because in the Camarilla, that is considered the absolute worst crime a vampire could possibly commit. The clan has access to the disciplines blood sorcery, which is like the same thing that the Tremere have, the blood magic, celerity, which is super speed, and obfuscate, which allows them to become undetectable. In earlier editions, they kind of had 3 different loadouts for disciplines because they had a warrior, a vizier, and a sorcerer caste. And their thing wasn't the same discipline as the Tremere. They had their own thing. It did have a greater focus on, like, blood magic in the actual literal sense of controlling blood.
Yes.
Which in a vampire society, you can imagine how scary that is. Their clan bane has changed a lot over the years for lore reasons. Currently, it is the overwhelming urge when they taste the blood of another vampire to diablerize that vampire because they are attracted fundamentally to the blood of evildoers that need to be punished. And in a sense, being a vampire is such an unbelievable transgression against the natural order that it makes that irresistible to the Banu Hakim. Now, it used to be that each of the three castes had their own...
Which is, of course, what a lot of other vampires would be like, that's just an excuse to diablerize.
Yeah.
It's a running joke. Like, they're like, we have to finish them because they're so evil. And they're like, bullshit, you're just trying to eat people.
Basically.
Little clan bane, but the one they all shared was that their skin would grow darker with age. This is a real thing. It used to be the case, and I guess someone at some point figured out that
this picture.
Idea to have, like, it's ever so slightly a little bit problematic. In line with their bane is their compulsion to pass judgment.
In case you don't know, he's talking about blackface.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
That was one of the things where, like, it was nice at LARP if you would dress as your character, but the aspects were like, don't.
Just don't. There's no need for that. We're just going to fudge past that.
Does something that they consider to be unethical, they will feel an urge to drink from them, to enact punishment by taking some of their blood. Which, of course, given that they're usually surrounded by vampires, would lead to the problematic situation of it triggering their clan bane. The Banu Hakim Antediluvian is a guy called Hakim, and the story that Banu Hakim tell about is that he basically embraced himself as a mortal by killing two immensely powerful vampires of the second generation as punishment for their corruption. Some claim that his goal is to exterminate all vampires, which is almost definitely not true, but it's a convenient way to say, oh, those damned foreigners. Some notable Hakim include Urshulgi, who rather recently awoke from torpor and looked around, just immediately took control of the clan and said, hang on, who is this Islam guy, and why are you worshipping him instead of Hakim? Repent your idolatry or you will be destroyed immediately, which has kind of led to a schism that is currently plaguing the clan, where a lot of Banu Hakim sort of went to the Camarilla. Fatima al-Fakari, who for a time was one of their most effective assassins and probably the first woman to ever be embraced into the clan, and Montgomery Curvin, who is a very young Sabbat-aligned or formerly Sabbat-aligned Banu Hakim, who through sheer luck in the early 1990s managed to become immensely powerful by diablerizing Mithras, the Ventral Prince of London. The nomadic and deceitful clan Ravnos, also known as the Haunted or the Clan of Seekers, is supposed to represent the vampiric archetype of, how do I say this? How do I best put this? The gypsies. They're basically, the idea is that they're gypsies that will sneak into your house at night and drink your blood. Look, you have to consider that
I want to say, yes, that's true, but they're also a very big fan favorite. Damn it. Give me just a moment. I mean, I'm not cut off. I got to restart my facial tracking.
No worries. Yeah, honestly, the Ravenos are like one of my, I say like secret favorites to play, because they're like the least vampire that were ever vampire. Because their main thing is they just like to basically like steal and con and then steal from people, and that sounds like really fucked up, but it's just so fun to play them if you do it right.
I played one that was on the Ravno Path of Paradox.
Yeah, by default, I think they're all on Path of Paradox because they realize that life is a bit illusion and so forth, but you can totally be something else. Which, Ty, do you know about humanity paths?
Yeah. I remember looking
Okay.
at a little bit of it.
Yeah, generally
Yeah, so-
they're reserved for like Sabat characters, but there's a couple of like independents, such as like the Banu Hakim and the Ravenos, that they follow like separate paths. Because
Gangrel can get one called Feral
the Path
Heart.
of Feral Heart, yeah, Path of Feral Heart. Which is cool because if they follow Path of Feral Heart, they're the only ones that don't smell like basically like vampires to werewolves, so werewolves will leave them alone. That's the only benefit. Only benefit.
Yeah.
Anyways.
A lot of Sabat, to clarify, the reason the Sabat try to go on a different path is because they're trying to be inhuman.
Yeah.
They're trying to distance themselves, so they work towards paths as a way to distance themselves from humanity.
It's basically like trying to like transcend what it means to be human.
Right.
I guess that's a good way of looking at
Vampire
it.
the Masquerade, the first book,
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. My finger.
No, go for it. Go for it.
came out in 1991. Cultural, sensitivities were a bit different back then. We're talking about, White Wolf, which even in 1994, which was a few years after Vampire came out, published this, World of Darkness Gypsies.
I have that book.
Where they had a real-life category of minority groups that they took and made them mechanically distinct magical beings, distinct from humans in the same way that vampires or werewolves or changelings are in the World of Darkness lore. Which is wild that they thought this was a cool thing to do even back then. But yes, the core of the Ravnos clan is of and traveling with, usually, the various different ethnic groups descended of the Roma. In the West, at least. They're a whole different clan in India that basically has very little to do with the rest of the world. Especially the new edition has changed a lot of the baggage that comes with this without having to retcon anything into reframing them a little bit as trickster, daredevil type people. And just going away from ethnicity for a moment, those are really the preferred group that the Ravnos embrace from. Adrenaline.
I just wanted to ask, I don't think I covered it yesterday. Are we going with the history that, what was it, the Time of Troubles? Or whatever, that the Ravno Antediluvian Awakening, has that happened?
Canonically, yes, it happened. However, everything up to the time of judgment has happened, but the time of judgment itself hasn't happened.
Okay.
So generally, because I don't like how they handled Gehenna. So.
Well, the only reason I ask is for Ty, generally, Ravno are going to be very rare. It's going to be rare that you even see or hear one, because a lot of them were killed when their antediluvian awoke, made them all go bug nuts just by waking up, and they all tried to kill each other.
No. It was basically kind of like a Call of Cthulhu thing where their elder god awoken and they all went mad just from having it wake up.
Right. So that's how scary, and he's going to cover it a little bit more. But if you pay attention to what they had to do to deal with an antediluvian, you kind of get why the idea of an antediluvian is scary, and why the Camarilla says no, they just don't exist.
Junkies and social outcasts that manage to make their own way in life. Trailblazers, unperturbed with the strict rules of polite society, who like to pull pranks every once in a while, have a good sense of humor, and want to use their eternal unlife to actually see something of the world. In other words, absolute legends. The clan has disciplines: animalism, which is control over animals; obfuscate, which allows them to become undetectable; and presence, which is alluring charisma. The latter two form the amalgam power called chemistry, which used to be actually a discipline that they had, along with
Yeah, chemistry was one of their in-clan disciplines as opposed to these three.
Yep.
It was the power, basically, illusions.
Makes sense. Your glass, I
Attitude,
see
once
that
again,
they
is a
have.
change I'm not particularly.
Oh, I'm sorry. What?
I was just saying, I'm looking at their thing and I see that they have animalism, chemistry, and fortitude currently.
Yeah.
I just want to say it's pronounced chemistry because there's an I in there.
Chemistry. Oh,
Chemistry.
I always call
Yeah,
it chemistry.
It's potato, but yeah, it will piss off a lot of people.
I see
If you
K and
say-
Calf. I say
Yeah.
a lot of them differently just because I said it probably wrong for years, but that's what I'm used to. Like I say Zamiche and still Zimitzi. Let's see. Yes, I saw you came, Calf. Thank you. Chemistry was fun. The fifth level of it is called like horrid reality, where you can make something so
Basically,
fun.
you make an illusion like real for the most part.
Right.
Yeah.
You can make an illusion so it's basically real. And it would have those effects. So if you made an illusion of like staking someone, they would believe that they were staked.
Yeah. What I did one time, because I forget what the context was, but there was a game that happened where they were like, we just need an elder. And I was like, well, what type of elder do you need to play? They're like, you can play anything you want. I was like, can I play an elder Ravnos? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay. And they were like, but you only have your core clans maxed out. And I was like, okay, cool, not a big deal. And they realized how fucked up that was, because anybody that fucked with me, Horde Reality, you know what their Horde Reality was? They were staked in the middle of the Sahara Desert as sun was rising. And because they believed it to be real, they turned to ash.
Yep. Think of the Matrix, how they say, like, if your mind dies in the Matrix, your body dies. Yeah. With an illusion, if you think you're dead, you're dead.
Yeah.
So.
Particularly happy with for blah 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 reasons we've already gone into, but basically chemistry allows them to create illusions to fool other people. Their clan bane is doomed, which is in no way evocative of what that actually mechanically means, even though it makes sense in the lore once again. And basically it means they need to sleep in a different location every night. Now I'm not talking like the other side of the room, but at least a kilometer away. Their common compulsion is to tempt fate, which really is just the classic adrenaline junkie move of doing something extremely dangerous for no other reason than it would be cool. The Ravnos aren't...
Yeah, I used to love trolling people, like elders. People that could end me in a snap, and I just could not help myself.
Diluvian is called
Seems like a good move.
Zapatasura, but he's also known as Drakian, and he very notably woke up from torpor in 1999, sending literally every single Ravnos in the entire world into a homicidal frenzy for a week. This obviously almost entirely destroyed the whole clan. The overwhelming majority of Ravnos just died during this time, and like they used incredibly powerful Eastern vampires, which are a different category of vampires called Quajin, which are not even probably related to the vampires in Vampire the Masquerade. And wizards used a bunch of orbital satellite nukes to
That's
stop
right.
this
They
guy
fucking nuked it.
from the
Yep.
just path of destruction he was cutting through India. Now you know why antediluvians can be kinda spooky. Some notable...
So you get that?
Yeah.
Orbital nukes and Quajin, like Kindred of the East, fucking working together to try to take down one antediluvian. And the Camarilla are like, yeah, antediluvians don't exist.
Clearly, you're just hallucinating. Clearly.
Notable Ravnos include Khalil Ravana, who is deeply addicted to the act of diablerie, Alexis Sorokin, an unparalleled master thief who is being hunted by the Camarilla, and Sinavea, a rather ancient Ravnos who prefers to spend her time mentoring younger groups of vampires and sometimes other supernatural beings, usually while pretending to not be a vampire at all. The devout and pestilential clan ministry also...
Okay, we're going to skip over the ministry. Again, not relevant.
Yeah, Ministry are all dead. An orbital satellite nuked them. That's going to be the joke going forward.
Ministry, what ministry?
They got nuked by it. It's like the old like D&D joke where they say rocks fall, everyone dies. Well, in this case, it's orbital satellite, everyone's nuked.
Yep.
Anyways, go ahead.
Planners. They sometimes have very interesting combinations of disciplines and are not really bound to the disciplines.
Oh,
their
I went a little
clan,
too
which
far.
Is vampire down. Nefertiti, a very powerful.
Just ignore this part,
unadulterated
but
narcissist.
the beginning of the next one is the caitiff, which are the clan lists, which is relevant. You'll deal with them.
Gotcha.
Who sees herself as the rightful vampire queen of all of Europe, and she has managed to turn several animals, especially snakes, into vampires. And Hesha Ruhadze, a scholar of the occult so renowned that his science...
Just a side thing, we had a Tremere in one game dedicated to trying to embrace an animal just like that. And the storyteller wanted to make it so incredibly hard that it was ridiculous. Like, they had to win like 13 challenges to embrace an animal. So they had a full lab and everything and lab rats, and they were experimenting and trying to make it easier and blah, blah, blah. But eventually they did embrace one creature, and it was a rat that was named Ketchup. And it became a running story for like years in our games. Even in different games, they would keep referencing Ketchup. That Ketchup was kept in the Chantry, and eventually it learned enough dominated a young Tremere to let it out of the cage, and now is rampaging, is like wandering the earth somewhere. Like, everyone is afraid of the Tremere Ketchup the rat.
Nice.
Basically.
actually renamed himself into Abu Ruhadze, so like the father of Ruhadze. Also, he has like a really cool monocle. And that's it. That's the 13 clans. There is also something called caitiff, which is vampires that don't know what their clan is. They sometimes have very interesting combinations of disciplines and are not really bound to the disciplines of their clan, which is sometimes the exact reason why their sire abandoned them. While that may sound very cool, bear in mind that caitiff are the absolute lowest of the low in vampire society. No one likes them, no one wants anything to do with them. It's not really advisable to play one. So there you go.
Even other caitiffs don't like caitiffs.
About Vampire the Masquerade, now you have...
Yeah, because they're a liability.
Yeah.
You're considered lower on social status. You don't have a clan that really represents you.
I will vouch for you.
Right. You're on the outs with no backing. I did play a caitiff that did earn respect because I was a Sabbat hunter and I just got really good at it. And people were like, yeah, don't fuck with him. But you're not going to start off with that. Like, you had to, I had to earn shit. And that I mean, that's the way it is with a lot of people. Some, like, if you're in a clan, like, say you're a Ventru and there's a Ventru prince, you might have like a leg up on other people. But like, a caitiff is going to come in starting at the bottom.
Yeah.
A functional, basic knowledge of what you maybe should be aware of if you're going to play the game. There is a lot of VTM lore out there, and that isn't even touching on all of the other World of Darkness properties. Even the clans I mentioned have, like, huge swathes that I couldn't even begin to get into. If you found any of them particularly interesting, I highly recommend the White Wolf Wiki for further information, or if you prefer video learning, I can recommend the Primogens channel, who has a lot of in-depth videos on most of the clans. If you want to see how Vampire the Masquerade is actually played, check out LA by Night, which is an actual play podcast set in the California Anarch Free State, with some tremendous characters played by very talented actors, and a game master that is so excellent, I personally count him among probably like the top 5 in the entire world for any system.
If you say so.
Yeah. I'm kind of like on the mix with Anarchs. I don't like Anarchs only because of the fact that they sound great on paper, But then when you look into Anarch politics or hierarchy, it's like isn't just like Diet Camarilla?
Yeah, it's just another version of the Camarilla. That's what I tell people all the time. People are like, Anarchs, listen to the name. That sounds awesome. I was like, it's not what you think it is.
Yeah, it's really not. Anyways,
The closest thing to what people idealize as an Anarch would be an independent.
mhm.
It's you don't have any backing other than maybe your clan if you're an independent clan. And some clans still have power, like the Giovanni. But yeah, uh, Anarchs, they have their own form of politics. In general, they play nice with the Camarilla, especially after the Anarch revolt and getting their asses kicked. So yeah. Do you have any questions, Ty?
Not off the top of my head. I did definitely, I've already read through most of these, so this is mostly
I
like
would
a bit
imagine
more.
so. You know what you should do, Ty? I'm gonna recommend something to you. I don't know if Bones will back me up on this. There's a game. It's an older game. It's called Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. I think you should play it. If you want to play it on stream, entirely up to you, but I definitely think you should play it because
I've said the same thing to him several times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Then why aren't you doing it now?
Like I said, it's a learn by doing. It's a great learn by doing. It's very immersive. It's a great game, and you'll learn a lot better about the society and how things work just by playing the game.
Okay.
They did a really good job with one. Don't touch two. That's my opinion. I mean, I don't know about anybody else. I think two was a travesty.
Yeah, it was. It was an abortion that should have been aborted on like your plan B. Like in all seriousness, once I heard that they switched studios for the second time, I was like, "This is going to be a travesty."
Right. I don't know if you're familiar. They had another vampire game. It was called Blood Hunt, which was a PvP game. If you were familiar with it, which it's gone now, you can't even get it anymore. But they took a lot of mechanics from that and just slapped it into two. That's what it felt like. Like, this is taking too long. We're not going to wait. Let's just steal it from this. Yeah, it's oh my god, it pisses me off so much. And I mean, I finished most of the game in like one night, maybe two. It was just, and it was bad, and I was miserable, and just play one. If you need any links to like mod pages or anything like that, you can hit me up too. Because like I said, you need a few mods to make it properly playable, and then
Yeah.
there's optional mods you can do after. I personally favor, out of all the ones I played, the Clan Quest mod.
I think the main one you need like 100% is the unofficial mod pack,
Yeah.
which basically fixes just some scripting issues.
Yeah. It'll repair it, any bugs, stuff like that. It'll make it playable as it was meant to be released. And like I said, the rest just add spice. Like I said, the Clan Quest mod, I think, adds the most. It's more in depth, lets you feel your clan specifically a little bit more. And they put back in a lot of stuff that was cut from the original game. They're like, the files were still there, but they didn't do anything with them. So, and they did a good job about getting voice actors to come in and do the voice roles for anything that they had to add in or repair. So,
I have it looking at it on Steam. Although they're trying to suggest that I buy the $810 bundle.
of course.
Of course it would be, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it goes on sale.
Well,
We can talk about. What?
I see like the normal version is $20. It's trying to recommend me to buy the Activision collection, which is 52
Of
separate games.
course.
Yeah, no. You just need the one. I highly recommend it. Personally, my favorite part of the game is the oceanfront hotel. I won't give spoilers, but that I personally, that's my favorite part of the game. I like to get fully immersed. I'll turn out all the lights and have like stereo headphones and just totally like sunk